Chapter 590. By the time Xiuyao arrived, it had already been half an hour, but Qiniran still hadn't arrived. Xiuyao casually found a tree and leaned against it, waiting patiently. Roughly 8 minutes later, under the illumination of the streetlights, Xiuyao saw a gorgeously dressed Qiniran walking over from afar. Did she think that a guy from my class had invited me out to confess his love to me? It's already late at night, and she even put on some makeup. It's already autumn, and she's wearing such a short dress. Xiuyao assessed Qiniran from afar for a moment before retracting her gaze calmly. Soon, Qiniran walked into the forest. The light in the forest was rather dim. After taking a few steps, Qiniran saw that there was no one around, so she began calling out the name of a guy from her class, Songlin. Songlin. Songlin, are you here yet? Xiuyao didn't rush to respond. It was only after Qiniran had called out a few more times that Xiuyao finally straightened her back and walked out from the darkness. Hearing footsteps, Qiniran turned around to look at Xiuyao. As Xiuyao was standing against the light, she wasn't able to see Xiuyao's appearance clearly. It was only when Xiuyao walked up to her that she stared at Xiuyao in disbelief and asked, "Why are you here? Wasn't Songlin the one who invited me out?" As Qiniran spoke, she scanned her surroundings. A gust of wind blew, and the rustling of leaves echoed in the forest. It was only then that Qiniran realized that there was no one else in the forest other than the two of them. She wasn't a fool, so it didn't take long for her to realize what was going on. A second later, she met Xiuyao's eyes once more and said, "It's you. You tricked me into coming here, right?" Qiniran had always hated Xiuyao. She was the one who had exposed her true colors to everyone in Ji University, the one who had stolen Lin Jie's heart, the one who had won her the title of campus belle, and the one who had put her in such a difficult position in Ji University. She was no longer the same as before, when all the girls were envious of her and all the boys chased after her. As such, when Qiniran finally understood what was going on, her eyes that were glaring at Xiuyao turned a little sharper, and even her tone became much more domineering. "Xiuyao, what do you intend to do by inviting me to the forest tonight?" Xiuyao didn't say a word. Instead, she continued staring at Qiniran intently. Qiniran had a feeling that Xiuyao had invited her over because of the forum, so she immediately put on a non-negotiable expression and said, "If you're here because of the forum, let me tell you this. There's no way I'll accept a private settlement." Before Qiniran could finish her hijia, Xiuyao, who hadn't said a single word ever since Qiniran appeared, suddenly raised her hand and delivered a tight slap to her face. Xiuyao's slap came out of nowhere. Qiniran was completely dumbfounded. There was a short period of silence in the forest. Only then did Qiniran realize what was going on. She raised her hand to her throbbing cheek and glared at Xiuyao as she exclaimed, "Are you insane?" Right after she said those words, Xiuyao raised her hand once more and delivered another tight slap to her face. Chapter 591. This was the first time that Xiuyao had ever had such a disagreement with another person. Not to mention hitting people, even cursing rarely happened to her. However, she was smart enough to have witnessed Sis Jai beating someone up with her own eyes, and she had also witnessed Qiniran kneeling on the ground in fear of Sis Jai, trembling in fear. Thus, she understood the importance of maintaining one's presence at a moment like this. But at the same time, she also knew that Qiniran had only been caught off guard. Once the latter regained her senses, she would surely come to blows with her. Both of them were girls, so their strength wasn't too far apart. But if they were to really come to blows, she might not be able to escape unscathed. Thus, after Qiniran was done speaking, Xiuyao immediately delivered a few more slaps to the latter's face. After that, without giving Qiniran any chance to react, Xiuyao grabbed her hair and dragged her to the ground. Then, disregarding everything else, she started kicking her. Xiuyao's actions were executed in a single breath. By the time Chini Ran realized what was going on, she was already pinned under Shuryao's body and pummeled furiously. As such, the only thing she could do was protect the area where she was being pummeled while screaming, "Stop! Don't you know that this is against the Academy's rules? If I were to report you to the Academic Affairs Office, you'll be punished." Ignoring Chini Ran's words, Shuryao continued hitting Chini Ran until she had vented her anger and felt that it was about time. However, she was still cautious, fearing that Chini Ran would pounce on her if she released her grip on Chini Ran. Thus, she held Chini Ran down tightly and glared at her fiercely before speaking up. "You said that I lured you out to talk to you about the forum? Chini Ran, I'm telling you right now that you're wrong. I didn't lure you out with any other intentions other than to beat you up. That's because I think that it's impossible to reason with a person like you who spouts nonsense and distorts the truth. Since it's impossible to reason with you, why should I waste my breath on you? What's the saying again? If you can fight, don't make a ruckus." I've seen many people without a bottom line, but I'm the first one to see someone as brazen as you. If my baby doesn't show off, you'll think I'm a teddy bear." Shuryao glared at Chini Ran, and her tone became even sharper than before. "The reason why I'm doing this today is to let you know that it's fine to provoke me, but you'd better be able to bear the consequences of doing so." Right after Shuryao said those words, she heard heavy footsteps coming from the forest. Without any hesitation, Shuryao abruptly let go of Chini Ran. Having been pinned to the ground and pummeled for so long, Chini Ran was currently seething with rage. It was just a second ago that Shuryao had released her, but in the next second, she pounced on Shuryao like a hysterical lunatic, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws. "I'm not done with you, teacher, listen. There's a sound there. It's right there." Before Chini Ran could finish her words, a female voice sounded from outside the forest. Following that, the heavy footsteps followed the source of the voice into the forest. Someone had brought a flashlight with them and was shining it around the forest. When the light shone on Shuryao and Chini Ran, Shuryao immediately crouched down and feigned extreme fear. Trembling in fear, she covered her head with her hands and cried out in panic, "Don't hit me, don't hit me." Chapter 592. Overwhelmed by rage, Chini Ran couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her surroundings. As soon as she saw Shuryao crouching down, she immediately charged forward. Just as her hand was about to touch Shuryao's body, someone spoke up with a stern and authoritative voice, "Stop." Following that voice, Tian immediately ran over upon seeing Shuryao cowering on the ground. "Chini Ran, what are you doing?" Without any hesitation, Tian pushed away Chini Ran, who was about to hit Shuryao, before squatting down and walking up to Shuryao. Yao, are you alright?" Shuryao didn't say a word. Instead, she hugged her head and shuffled to a darker corner. Seeing Shuryao's reaction, Tian glared at Chini Ran furiously and bellowed, "Chini Ran, what did you do to Yao? How did you frighten her to such an extent?" Hearing those words, Chini Ran sneered coldly, "What did I do to her? Are your brains filled with sh*t? Which eye of yours saw what I did to her? She was the one who did it to me, alright." It was only at this point that Chini Ran noticed that there were a group of people standing by the side. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, but she knew that they were all students of G University. However, there was a middle-aged man who was holding a flashlight among them. Chini Ran recognized him. He was the head of G University's Academic Affairs Office. Chini Ran's domineering aura instantly dissipated by half. Following which, tears welled up in her eyes, as if she had suffered a huge grievance. She turned to the head of the Academic Affairs Office and said, "Head, you came at the right time. Head, do you know that I was intending to look for you?" "Head, look." As she spoke, Chini Ran lifted her long hair and pointed to her face. "Look at my face. This is her, Shuryao's masterpiece. It's her." She tricked me into coming to the forest and beat me up without any hesitation. After saying those words, tears began flowing down Chini-ran's cheeks in large droplets. Head teacher, the academy has its own rules. Those who engage in brawls will be punished. Head teacher, you'll have to deal with this matter. Tian. Head, you can't just listen to Chini-ran's side of the story. You have to listen to Yao Yao's side of the story as well. Besides, I was the one who saw Chini-ran asking Yao Yao out, and I was reminded of the recent commotion on the school forum, so I followed her out of worry. It was then that I heard the sounds of fighting inside, so I ran over to look for you. You saw it too when we came in earlier. She was the one hitting Yao Yao, and look at how frightened Yao Yao is right now. Seeing Yao Yao being asked out by her, Tiantian's words had stabbed right into Chini-ran's sore spot. Bullshit. She was the one who tricked me into coming out. The director of teaching didn't say anything but coughed heavily. It was only then that Chini-ran realized that she had overreacted. She quickly suppressed the rage in her heart and put on an aggrieved look as she said, "Department head, it's not like that. She's lying. Shi Yao was the one who tricked me out." Chapter 593. That's right. Chini-ran replied Tiantian's words without any hesitation. She was just about to say, "That's right," but before she could finish her words, Tian seemed to have suddenly recalled something, and she muttered, "That's not right. That shouldn't be the case. After all, in order to maintain good conduct, our school has a rule that forbids boys and girls from going on a date in the middle of the night. I don't think Senior Qin would do such a thing. After all, wearing such a short skirt to meet a man on such a cold day is really a little perverted." Before she could finish her words, Tian realized that she had gone too far, and she quickly scratched her head in embarrassment. "Dean, I'm sorry, I was just spouting nonsense. Also, Senior Qin, I'm sorry. I apologize to you here. I shouldn't have said that you went on a date with a man in the middle of the night. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry." Having been interrupted by Tiantian's words, Chini-ran didn't dare to continue speaking the truth. Indeed, if Tian hadn't brought it up, she would have forgotten that the school did have such rules in order to maintain good conduct. But the truth was that she had been tricked out by Shi Yao, and she couldn't say that it was Song Lin Hao who had asked her out to testify for her. So, everything had been arranged by Shi Yao in advance. Was she really going to have to swallow this humiliation? But, if she wasn't going to eat it, what else could she do? Shi Yao had a witness who said that she was the one who called her out, but she didn't. Seeing Chini-ran's silence, Tian couldn't help but ask curiously, "Right, Senior Qin, what were you going to say before I interrupted you earlier?" "It seems to be, what is it?" "Senior Qin, why aren't you saying anything?" "Senior Qin." Chini-ran ignored Tiantian's repeated questions and turned to the Dean of the Academic Affairs Office. "Dean, regardless of how Shi Yao and I ended up in the forest, it's a fact that I was beaten up by Shi Yao. Surely you can't just stand by and do nothing about it." The Dean of the Academic Affairs Office turned to Shi Yao and asked, "Student Shi Yao, say something. Did you really hit student Chini-ran?" Shi Yao seemed to be terrified by the dean's words. She shrunk back a little before shaking her head and timidly replying, "No, director, she's lying. She might have suffered a loss because of the person who invited her out, but it was a fact that Shi Yao had assaulted her, and there was no way she could escape from it. Thus, she wouldn't let go of this matter. Beating up another student in the academy was punishable by punishment. Not only that, it would also affect her postgraduate fellowship, Excellence Award. Of course, she'd also be reported to the academy. By then, the entire academy would know that Shi Yao had beaten her up. All she had to do was to pitifully leak a small rumor that Shi Yao had beaten her up in a fit of rage due to the matter on the forum. After accusing Shi Yao of lying, Chini-ran immediately spoke up, department head, Xiao is lying. She's the one who hit me, and there's only the two of us here. I can't possibly be the one who hit myself, right? Chapter 594. Qiniran was so furious that her chest was heaving up and down. Nonsense. You're spouting nonsense. You. Compared to Qiniran, who was on the verge of stomping her feet in anger, Xiao maintained her meek demeanor. I'm not spouting nonsense. Head, it's really as I said. I didn't hit her. The one who hit her was herself, Qiniran roared in exasperation, Xiao, you slut. Hearing those words, Xiao cowered behind He Tian in fright. He Tian glared at Qiniran in displeasure. Head, look at her. She dares to scold someone right in front of you. The head of academic affairs also spoke up in displeasure. Student Qiniran, please watch your words. I. Qiniran opened her mouth furiously, but before she could finish her words, the head of academic affairs had already interjected. Student Qiniran, don't say anything for now. I've already roughly understood the situation on your side. I need to understand the situation on Xiao's side first. After saying those words, the head of the academic affairs office turned to look at the trembling Xiao. Perhaps it was due to Xiao's pitiful appearance, but not only did the authoritative voice of the head of the academic affairs office lose its previous authoritative tone, it even lowered slightly. Student Xiao, feel free to tell me everything that happened. As the head of the academic affairs office, I won't malign any student, but of course, I won't condone any student either. Alright, head. Xiao nodded politely to the head of academic affairs before continuing. Earlier tonight, Tian and I went to the supermarket, and on the way there, we bumped into Senior Qin. She was the one who forcefully brought me here. She threatened me with the matter regarding the forum, saying that as long as I gave her 10,000 renminbi, she would delete those posts on the forum. She even said that she was making things up, but I didn't agree to it because those posts on the forum aren't true. I retorted to her, saying that she's too despicable, and that's when she started beating me up. The heck, when did I say those words? When did I ask you for money? When did I threaten you? Xiao, you slut. You're slandering me. You. Qiniran had completely lost her rationality. The head of education glared at Qiniran in displeasure, and with a frightening voice, he bellowed, Student Qiniran. Qiniran immediately shut her mouth, but due to her rage, her chest was heaving up and down non-stop. The head of the education bureau turned to Xiao. Only then did Xiao continue speaking. Head, I'm really not lying. Everything I've said is the truth, including what I said earlier about Senior Qin hitting herself. I told her that I'd tell her teacher about it, so she slapped herself harshly twice. Then, she told me gleefully that if I had the guts, I'd tell her that I should tell her teacher about it. She also said that both of us have been beaten up, which means that we've fought each other. When the time comes, I'll tell my teacher about it, and if anyone were to be punished, it'll be the both of us. Chapter 595. What Qiniran wanted to say was, where did I hit you? But before she could finish her words, He Tian, who had been silent all this while, suddenly rushed up to Xiao and asked, Yao, what happened to your face? Yao, why is your face so swollen? As He Tian spoke, she suddenly realized something and glared at Qiniran fiercely. Qiniran, aren't you a little too vicious? How can you do that? You. Being criticized for no reason, Qiniran frowned in bewilderment before turning to look at Xiao. As she turned her head around, she was intending to finish her words, but in the instant that her gaze fell upon Xiao's face, her eyes widened in shock, as if she had just seen something inconceivable. Xiao's face was terrifyingly swollen, as if someone had slapped her hard. There were also 2 areas on her neck that were swollen, as if someone had pinched her with their fingertips. Not only so, her clothes were torn in 2 places, and there was a deep cut on the side of her thigh that was dripping with blood. When Chiniran saw this scene, Tian also noticed it. There's also her neck. Chiniran, did you grab Yao Yao's neck? There's also her leg. Why is there so much blood? It's no wonder Yao Yao has been covering her head all this time. It's no wonder she's so scared. Head teacher. When the head teacher saw Shi Yao's bleeding leg, his expression immediately turned stern. Chiniran, do you have anything else to say for yourself? Hearing the head teacher's words, Chiniran blinked her eyes, recovering from Shi Yao's sudden appearance. She still couldn't believe what she was seeing. She stared at Shi Yao for a moment longer before speaking. How could this be? How could this be? Indeed, what was going on? She clearly didn't touch a single finger of Shi Yao's, so how did she end up in such a state? What do you mean by how could this be? What nonsense are you spouting? Shi Yao's face was so swollen that it was hard to look straight at it. Anyone would think that Chiniran was lying to them. After all, no one would go so far as to injure themselves in order to gain the confidence of others. Furthermore, when everyone arrived at the scene, the first thing they saw was Chiniran intending to beat Shi Yao up. Thus, putting all of these together, no matter who it was, they would think that Chiniran was lying. Chiniran, your actions are simply too vile. It's one thing for you to get into a brawl in school, but to even threaten a student's money? I'll report this matter to the higher-ups of the school and have them deal with you accordingly. After saying those words, he turned to Shi Yao and said, Student Shi Yao, don't worry. We'll deal with this matter seriously. Also, you and student Shi Yao live in the same dormitory, right? I'll have to trouble you to help Shi Yao bandage her wounds now. Tian immediately replied obediently, yes, department head. I'll be leaving with Yao Yao now. There are so many people here, and Yao Yao, the Dean of Academic Affairs, looked very understanding. He waved his hand and gestured for them to leave quickly. Chapter 596. The moment she walked past the head of the Academic Affairs office, a cold glint surfaced in Shi Yao's timid eyes. Doesn't Chiniran like to distort the truth and slander others? Fine then. I'll let her have a taste of how it feels to be slandered. The current Shi Yao must be feeling wonderful, right? It's one thing for her to not be able to vent her anger after being pummeled, but she even had the tables turned on her instead. It's a pity that I can't become a roundworm in her stomach and see how she looks like when her heart breaks down. But just thinking about it alone, it's really cool and satisfying enough to vent my anger. Shi Yao, has never been soft bun. She's never bullied others or been bullied, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't know how to retaliate after being bullied. In truth, she didn't want to be so ruthless either, because this was the kind of method she hated the most. She loved living a simple and beautiful life, but there were some people who would do everything in their power to destroy your simple and beautiful life. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being merciless. Just as she said, if Chiniran dared to provoke her, she should be prepared to bear the consequences. Of course, she didn't come here just to vent her anger. It wouldn't take long for the incident to spread across the entire G University. By then, everyone would know that Chiniran had used the forum incident to force her to pay up, and after a disagreement with her, she even beat her up and slapped herself twice in an attempt to cover up her actions. With that, the credibility of the news that she had exposed on the forum would be greatly reduced. After all, how could the words of such a vile person be trusted so easily? Even if some people might find it hard to believe, given that the video was out there, the matter of her being a mistress would be covered up by Chiniran's incident tonight. Just like in the entertainment industry, the best way to cover up a scandal was to expose another scandal. Chiniran only had herself to blame for this. She was the one who started it, so naturally, she had to cover up her own scandal. With such thoughts in mind, Yao's lips couldn't help but curl up slightly. She wouldn't let her off even if she bullied her. How dare she implicate her friend and Lin Jiege? If she, Qiniran, was smart, she would learn from this lesson and learn to behave herself. But if she were to be stubborn, she would just have to make life difficult for her in the future. Ha! Yao sneered coldly in her heart, but before she could finish her words, a huge car suddenly drove over from afar. The headlights of the car shone directly on her and Tian, and the glare was so blinding that they couldn't open their eyes at all. What's going on? Why would such a big car drive into the school in the middle of the night? Amidst Tian's sarcasm, the car stopped right beside her and Tian. The car door opened and several people jumped out. Yao and Tian didn't recognize any of them, but out of curiosity, they couldn't help but take a few more glances at them. After those people got off, they went around to the back of the cart, opened the back door, and began to move things out from inside. What the hell is he doing? Yao. Tian couldn't help but lean over and ask curiously. Yao shook her head in bewilderment. Just as she was about to reply to Tian with a, "I don't know," another person suddenly jumped out from the car. Chapter 597. With just a single glance, Yao blurted out doubtfully, "Lin Jiege. Why is he here?" Following Yao's frown, Tian, who was supporting her, released her fingers from Yao's arm sheepishly. Then, she shifted behind Yao and said with feigned calmness, Yao, perhaps Senior Lin has a telepathic connection with you, and he knew that you were here, so he rushed over." Before Tian could finish her words, Yao had already turned around to shoot her a glance. Tian immediately put on a smile and changed her words. "Alright, it's Senior Lin who called my dormitory room. You should know that he's my Adonis. I've always been a person with backbone, but as soon as he spoke, my backbone betrayed me." Out of curiosity, Yao asked casually, "What did he say that made you spill everything just like that?" Tian scratched her head and said, he said, "Hello, I'm Lin Jiege. May I ask if Yao has returned to the dormitory?" Yao, she felt as if a layer of chocolate had been smeared over her face, causing it to darken. "If you're a pervert, then so be it. Why did you say that your integrity betrayed me?" Yao harumphed in her heart, Tian, you're a rainbow candy." Tian, what do you mean?" Yao, you're a pervert. Ridiculed, Tian couldn't help but smile at Yao. She was just about to say something coquettishly, but before she could, she caught sight of another person jumping out of the car behind Lin Jiege. So, she quickly grabbed Yao's arm and changed the topic. Yao, look. Senior Lu is here too." "He's here too." Yao looked in the direction that Tian was pointing, and she saw Lu Benlai in a pink hoodie standing behind Lin Jiege, who was dressed in a white shirt. This boy, who liked to be cold and warm, always wore clothes that were similar to soft drinks, all kinds of clothes that were suitable for girls and boys. He was really coquettish. While Yao was silently retorting in her heart, the head of the academic affairs office walked out of the forest with the girls that Tian had called over, as well as Qiniran. Lu Benlai was the first to speak up. "Nice to meet you, head of the academic affairs office." Upon seeing Lin Jiege and Lu Benlai, the head of education administration halted his footsteps and asked, "Jiege, why are you here?" Lin Jiege politely nodded to the head of academic affairs and said, "I'm here to settle some matters." Lu Benlai quickly interjected, "Indeed, Director Zhang. We're here to settle some matters, so we'll have to trouble you to wait for a moment. We'll be done with those things very soon." Dean of Academic Affairs, what are those things? Lu Benlai, Director, you'll know soon enough. Amidst the conversation between Liu Benlai and the head of the Academic Affairs Office, Lin Jiej turned his gaze to Shi Yao, who was standing a distance away. Under the dim yellow light of the street lamp, he stared at her from afar for a while before he strode over to her. He Tian grabbed Shi Yao's arm tightly and said, "Yao Yao, Senior Lin is here. I know that he belongs to you, but I still feel like I'm going to faint from his handsomeness." "Why?" Before he Tian could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already walked up to her. He Tian hurriedly shut her mouth and greeted, "Hello, Senior Lin." As she was Shi Yao's roommate, Lin Jiej didn't dare to show any disrespect. He first greeted He Tian with a "hello" before turning to look at Shi Yao. Chapter 598. It was a distance away, and the streetlights weren't bright, so Lin Jiej wasn't able to see Shi Yao's condition clearly. It wasn't until he was standing right in front of her that he realized that her face was badly swollen. Lin Jiej's face immediately darkened. "Did she hit you?" Lin Jiej's voice didn't carry the slightest hint of the nonchalance and leisurely tone he had when he was talking to He Tian earlier. On the contrary, there was a sharpness in his voice. Frightened, He Tian immediately let go of Shi Yao's hand, pointed to a familiar student beside her, and slipped away. "Did she hit you?" As Lin Jiej asked, his gaze began scanning Shi Yao's entire body. When he saw the wound on her leg and the holes in her clothes, innumerable emotions began churning in the depths of his eyes. Without waiting for Shi Yao to speak, he turned his gaze to the crowd standing by the side, and when he caught sight of Qin Yiran's silhouette, he immediately began walking toward her with widened strides. But barely after he took 2 steps, Shi Yao suddenly grabbed his hand and said, "Lin Jiej, calm down. Don't be rash." At this moment, she was the weaker party, but she had the upper hand. If Lin Jiej were to do anything to Qin Yiran in a fit of rage, the situation would turn around, not to mention, it wouldn't look good for a man to hit a woman. Afraid that she wouldn't be able to hold on to Lin Jiej, Shi Yao stretched out her other hand and wrapped it around Lin Jiej's left arm, placing her entire weight on him as if she was hugging a bear. "Lin Jiej, don't go over. Her voice was soft, and there was a hint of pleading in it. Lin Jiej immediately froze in place. Suppressing the rage in his heart, he turned his head to look at her shameless actions, and he didn't know whether he should laugh or cry. In the end, Lin Jiej still went along with Shi Yao's wishes and said, "All right, I won't go over anymore. Let go of me first." Shi Yao raised her head and observed Lin Jiej's expression for a moment. After confirming that he wasn't lying, she finally let go of his arm. Lin Jiej turned around to face Shi Yao and asked, "Other than these wounds, are there any other injuries?" Shi Yao hurriedly shook her head. "And nothing." Lin Jiej scanned Shi Yao from head to toe, and after confirming that there weren't any other wounds, he took out a clean handkerchief from his pocket and squatted down to bandage the wound on Shi Yao's leg. "This wound shouldn't be touched randomly. We'll be exposed. Whose family did he belong to? Why are you siding with an outsider?" Shi Yao abruptly moved her leg away from Lin Jiej's side. Lin Jiej thought that Shi Yao was afraid of pain, so he said, "I'll be gentler. Don't you know how to treat the wound now? It'll be troublesome if it gets infected. Infect an ice cream bowl." It was impossible to be infected. However, there were many people around and they weren't far away. If she told him the truth and someone heard it, wouldn't it be a big problem? Yet, he was so insistent on treating her wound. Lin Jiej was definitely here to drag her down. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao's eyes darted around for a moment before she reached out to Lin Jiej, who was squatting in front of her, and said, "Hug." Shi Yao's actions left Lin Jiej completely dumbfounded. "Aw." In a moment of desperation, she seemed to have resorted to a terrible move. With so many people watching, if Lin Jiej were to refuse her blatantly asking for a hug, wouldn't she be making a fool out of herself? Chapter 599. Shi Yao's voice jolted Lin Jiej out of his daze. He didn't know why she would suddenly do such a thing, but her hug had melted his heart. In that instant, he lost all of his will to resist. Even if she asked him to brave a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, he would do it without any hesitation. He didn't hesitate, or rather, his mind was blank. He didn't think of anything and just stared at the fair hands that she stretched out towards him. He slowly stood up and pulled her into his embrace. When the two of them finally got close to each other, Shi Yao tiptoed over to Lin Jiej's side and whispered in his ear, "I'm telling you, don't touch the wounds on my body. There are too many people here, and there are too many eyes staring at us. It's not convenient for me to tell you everything. But you must remember that we're a family. You mustn't ruin my plans and drag me down." After saying everything that she wanted to say, Shi Yao turned to Lin Jiej and asked, "Did you hear me?" Her soft body was in his arms. She stood on her tiptoes and whispered gently into his ear. Her breath was constantly on his neck. She was overestimating his self-control a little too much. He heard everything she said, but he couldn't think about what she meant at all. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't responding to her, Shi Yao urged him once more, "Did you hear what I said?" Lin Jiej remained motionless, not responding at all. Shi Yao couldn't help but pinch his waist. In an instant, Lin Jiej's entire body felt a slight pain mixed with a tingling sensation. Reflexively, he grabbed Shi Yao's hand and slowly turned his head to meet her eyes. In just a few short seconds, his gaze had already fallen on her lips. He could clearly see the urge to kiss her in his heart, and he tried his best to suppress it. Using a lot of strength, he finally gave her a light nod and replied with an before quickly averting his gaze from her lips. Seeing that Lin Jiej had finally responded to her, Shi Yao's worried heart finally calmed down. She took a step back, intending to leave Lin Jiej's embrace. The boy abruptly increased the strength of his fingertips and tightened his grip on her hand that was pinching his waist just now. Shi Yao subconsciously exerted more strength in an attempt to break free, but Lin Jiej showed no signs of letting go. While the two of them were caught in a stalemate, Lu Benlai suddenly spoke up, "Boss, the assembly is done. Come over and take a look." Lin Jiej replied with an "oh" as he continued holding on to Shi Yao's hand. He stared into her eyes for a while longer before turning around to leave. He walked up to a machine that had been assembled from the contents of the cardboard boxes and examined it for a moment. After confirming that there were no problems with it, he turned to Lu Benlai and nodded lightly. Receiving his signal, Lu Benlai immediately turned to the head of academic affairs and said, "Head, it's like this. This is the latest model of lie detector, and its accuracy is as high as 100%. Chapter 600. As he spoke, Lu Benlai turned to Qin Yiran and said, "Student Qin, come on. It won't take up too much of your time. I'll give you 10 seconds at most. You just have to say one thing to the lie detector, and that is, everything I've said on the forum is true." Qin Yiran stood on the spot, unmoving. Lu Benlai waited patiently for a moment, but seeing that Qin Yiran wasn't moving, he spoke up once more, "Student Qin, what's wrong? Since you dared to reveal your identity on the forum, doesn't this mean that you're confident? Since you're confident, what are you waiting for? Come on." Qin Yiran still didn't move in the slightest. Standing by the side, Shi Yao's eyes widened in shock as she stared at the equipment. Isn't Lin Jiej a little too much? To think that he would get such an advanced lie detector. But then again, I did lie too. If I were to be tested later, wouldn't I be playing Qin Yiran to death as well as her? As expected, men are all pigs. Their words can't be trusted at all. Just as Shi Yao was criticizing Qin Yiran in her heart, Lu Benlai suddenly spoke up to urge Qin Yiran, Student Chin, are you feeling guilty? Yao didn't know whether Ran was feeling guilty or not, but she was feeling really guilty. She could feel her heart pounding in panic. After being urged several times, Ran finally spoke up indignantly. Why do you insist on having me do the lie detector test? Why don't you have Yao do it? Ask her if I really hit her earlier. My gosh. What I'm afraid of really comes true. As expected, Lin Jiej and I aren't from the same family. Yao suddenly felt as if she were the female lead of a fantasy novel, and she could escape with her body disappearing. Lu Benlai burst into laughter. Student Chin, you sure are interesting. Even at this point in time, you're still trying to play the blame game. Alright, I'll believe you for the time being. You didn't hit Little Junior, and she's the one who slandered you. However, there's a cause and effect for everything. You're the one who started it, so even if we're here to verify the truth, you should be the one to do it first. There shouldn't be a problem with that, right? As long as you do the lie detector on the forum, you can do whatever you want. On behalf of Little Junior, I'll give you my full cooperation. Lu Benlai paused for a moment before he turned to Yao and asked, Little Junior, do you have any objections? Go eat stinky tofu. I don't want you to represent me. Yao cursed Lu Benlai from top to bottom in her heart, but on the surface, she still put on a calm front and replied, No, I don't have any objections. Yes, she had a huge opinion. Lu Benlai turned to Ran and said, Look, Little Junior has already said that she has no objections. So, Student Chin, please go ahead. Standing on the spot, Ran stared at the apparatus hesitantly. Lu Benlai feigned ignorance. Student Chin, what do you mean by that reaction? Do you not know how to use this instrument? Don't worry, I'll get someone to give you a demonstration first. But who's going to demonstrate? Lu Benlai scanned the crowd before his gaze finally fell on Lin Jiej. Boss, why don't you do it? Lin Jiej, who had been silent all this while, didn't reject the lie detector. He walked up to the lie detector and said, Yao is my fiancé. The lie detector was extremely quiet. Lu Benlai continued his explanation to the very end. This means that it's real. Chapter 601. Lu Benlai, the heck, is this lie detector really a surprise that our boss prepared for campus farce Chin and not a gift for me? Also, is boss sure that he's here to take revenge and help Little Junior sister, and not to abuse the dogs? What should I do? No matter how he looked at it, it seemed as if our boss had gone through so much trouble to get this lie detector just so he could declare his sovereignty over her. Of course, Lu Benlai only dared to grumble in his heart. He didn't dare to say it aloud, nor did he dare to forget his mission. Thus, he quickly turned to Ran and said, Student Chin, look, I've already demonstrated it to you. If you're truly confident and have a clear conscience, why don't you come and take the lie detector? This time, Lu Benlai didn't give Ran a chance to argue any further. His words were much more forceful this time around. Student Chin, there are so many students here, and the head of education is here as well. If you really aren't in the wrong, this lie detector will be a godsend to prove your innocence. I believe that anyone who has been wronged would be eager to prove themselves, right? But the way you're dilly-dallying, I'm starting to doubt whether your words on the forum are just slander. It's already getting late, and it's not right to waste everyone's time like this. So, Student Chin, I'll give you 3 minutes to think about it. If you really decide not to take the lie detector, it'll mean that you're just making things up on the forum to slander me, right? A minute has passed. Student Chin, have you still not made up your mind? 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Actually, I'm sure none of us here are fools, so we should be able to tell the truth. Our boss has already said that Little Junior is staying at his house, so those rumors about Little Junior being a mistress of some middle-aged uncle on the forum are naturally debunked. Oh ho ho, I'm sorry, I've said too much. It's already been 3 minutes, Student Chin, can I take it that you've given up now? Or should I have these people carry the lie detector in front of you? As he spoke, Lu Benlai waved his hand, and the people who were assembling the lie detector really lifted it up and walked toward Chin Iran. Chin Iran watched as the lie detector slowly approached her, and her face paled before turning livid. She was afraid and guilty. She was the one who had slandered Shiryao on the forum, and as soon as she spoke, she would be exposed. Even if she hadn't hit Shiryao today, she couldn't even clear the first stage, so how could she possibly expose Shiryao? First, Shiryao tried to frame her, and now, Lin Jiej went to such lengths to get her a lie detector. Did they plan this beforehand? Continuously giving her blows. Seeing that the lie detector was already right in front of her, Chin Iran panicked and began to retreat. However, as she retreated, her path was suddenly blocked by a tree. She froze in place for 2 seconds. Unable to think of what she should do, she immediately turned to flee. As if knowing that she would try to escape, Lu Benlai immediately stepped forward to block her path. Student Chin, what do you mean by this? You want to leave now that your lies have been exposed? Lu Benlai's voice suddenly turned a little shrill. It's not that I can't do that, but it's only right for one to apologize for one's wrongdoings. So, I'll have to trouble Student Chin to apologize to those who should be apologizing before you leave. Chapter 602. Chin Iran clenched her fists tightly. All she wanted to do was to get out of here as soon as possible, so she ignored Lu Benlai and walked around him. Lu Benlai swiftly blocked her path once more. Student Chin, you can't be like this. You dare to do it but not admit it. You're really too shameless. Shameless? That's right. After tonight, everything that happened here would soon reach the ears of every single student in G University. By then, she, Chin Iran, would suffer a fate far worse than the one she suffered in the forum incident last semester. Since she was going to die anyway, why didn't she drag someone down with her before she died? How could she forget that she didn't lay a finger on Shiryao at all? They were forcing her to take a lie detector test, but it didn't mean that she had to talk about the forum incident. She could just tell the lie detector that she didn't lay a finger on Shiryao and that she was the one who did, even if she was the one who had slandered the forum, even if everyone knew that she had lost her reputation, Shiryao wouldn't be in a good position either. There was no one in the world who didn't know how to take her down with them. With such thoughts in mind, a vicious glint flashed across Chin Iran's eyes. In the next instant, she turned to Lu Benlai and nodded, sure. Aren't you going to take a lie detector test? I'll do it for you. As she said those words, she walked up to the lie detector, and just like how Lin Jiej had demonstrated earlier, she said, I wasn't the one who dragged Shiryao into the forest tonight. But upon hearing those words, Shiryao's legs immediately caved in, and she nearly fell to the ground. She knew that Lin Jiej would only drag them down. She knew that it was better to believe in ghosts than to believe in a person like Lin Jiej. It was a pity that her superb acting skills were ruined by Lin Jiej just like that. Shiryao was the one who lured me here. I didn't lay a finger on Shiryao at all. From the start to the end, it was Shiryao who slapped me. It's over, it's over. At this moment, all Shiryao wanted to do right now was to order a cold song for herself. Having said all that she wanted to say in a single breath, Chin Iran turned her gaze to the lie detector with a determined look on her face. Wasn't the reason why Lin Jiej had gone to such lengths to get his hands on a lie detector just to protect Shiryao? Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the godly assistance he had received would actually end up harming Shiryao. She understood the meaning of, if you're willing to bet, you have to be willing to admit defeat. But before she suffered a crushing defeat, it would be worth it if she could drag Shiryao down with her. With such thoughts in mind, Chin Iran suddenly felt a surge of joy in her heart. and a smile crept onto her lips. However, before that smile could reach her eyes, the lie detector in front of her suddenly emitted a sharp alarm. Lu Benlai picked his ears before speaking up. "Student Qin, you're lying. Impossible. Impossible." Qin Yiran stared at the lie detector in disbelief for a moment before rushing right up to it. "I didn't hit Shuyao." As her voice fell, the lie detector let out another ear-piercing alarm. How could this be? Everything she said was the truth. "I didn't hit Shuyao. I didn't hit Shuyao. I didn't hit Shuyao." Chapter 603. There's something wrong with this lie detector. This lie detector is fake, it's fake. As Qin Yiran spoke, she turned around to look at the school head and said, "School head, this lie detector is fake, it's fake." Everything I said earlier was the truth. Lu Benlai, who had been staring at Qin Yiran calmly for a long while, finally saw that the timing was right, and he spoke up once more. "Student Qin, this isn't the point. You can't just push the blame onto the lie detector, and the lie detector will say that I'm not the scapegoat." Qin Yiran glared at Lu Benlai in exasperation. "Nonsense. There's clearly something wrong with this lie detector. You're framing me." As she spoke, Qin Yiran raised her finger and pointed it at Shuyao, Lin Jiej, Lu Benlai, and finally, He Tian. You, and you. The four of you are working together to frame me." He Tian widened her eyes in shock as she replied innocently, "Senior Qin, what do you mean by that? I don't even know Senior Lin and Senior Lu, so how could we possibly be working together? Look, Junior Qin has already said that we aren't familiar with each other. Student Qin, you can't just go back on your words just to cover up for yourself. How about this?" As Lu Benlai spoke, he turned to the school head and the students beside him and said, "Why don't we have everyone here take a look at the lie detector? If any of you are willing to take the test, feel free to do so." "I'll do it." He Tian was the first to step forward. Following that, a second, a third, a fourth. Eventually, a total of 10 people stepped forward to take the test. Some of them spoke the truth while others lied, but the results of the lie detector were all fine. In the end, the one who stepped forward to take the test was the school head of the Academic Affairs Office. He said 3 sentences consecutively, and the results were all fine. This time, before Lu Benlai could say anything, the school head of the Academic Affairs Office turned to Qin Yiran and asked, "Qin Yiran, is there anything else you wish to say?" "Impossible, impossible." Qin Yiran shook her head repeatedly as she stared at the lie detector in bewilderment. After muttering to herself for a while, she suddenly rushed up to the lie detector and said, "I didn't hit Shuyao, I didn't hit Shuyao. The lie detector must have been tampered with just now." No matter what she said, the results from the lie detector would always be fake. Now, it was normal, but right after she said those words, the lie detector let out a shrill sound once more. What in the world was going on? Could it be that as long as I speak, the results would be false? With such thoughts in mind, Qin Yiran, who had completely lost her rationality, spoke up once more, "I'm the one who fabricated everything on the forum. I only saw Shuyao entering that high-end residential area. As for the exact situation, I have no idea at all." However, this time, the lie detector did not make any sound even after she had spoken for a long time. To think that the lie detector would actually work on her at this very moment. Qin Yiran's mind was on the brink of collapse. Hysterically, she raised her hand and smashed the lie detector. There's something wrong with this lie detector. I was framed. I was framed. Chapter 604. Having suffered such a huge loss, Qin Yiran was unable to do anything about it. As if she had gone insane, she would beat up anyone who dared to touch her. In the end, the head of the academic affairs office called the security guards over and forcefully dragged her to his office, locking her in a dark room. Of course, before the head of the academic affairs office left, he didn't forget to disperse the students Tian had called over. Since everyone had left, there was no reason for Shi Yao and the others to remain here any longer. It wasn't too late yet, so Shi Yao, who hadn't eaten yet, suggested that they go for supper after everyone had left. Tian had no objections to the idea, and she even took out her phone to give Jiang Yu and Leng Wan a call. Upon hearing that the other two girls from Shi Yao's dormitory were going as well, Lu Benlai couldn't be bothered with the fact that he had to submit his project tomorrow and immediately agreed to it. Since Shi Yao was going, there was no way that Lin Jiej would have any objections. So, after confirming the number of people, he asked Shi Yao what she wanted to eat before heading to the GPS location. Due to the large number of people, they had to split into 2 taxis. Everyone felt that it was too troublesome, so in the end, they chose a barbecue shop near the school. Shi Yao placed her order, and after the waiter left, she immediately blurted out the question that had been bothering her for a long time: "What's up with that lie detector? Why would the lie detector ring when Qin Yiran was speaking the truth?" About that, Lu Benlai chuckled as he continued Shi Yao's words. "It's our boss's masterpiece. He wrote a small program that has a long-distance navigation control function on his phone. So, even though our boss seemed to be casually fiddling with his phone by the side, he was actually cheating." What? Shi Yao turned her head around, and her eyes widened in shock as she stared at Lin Jiej. "Is it really that cool?" Lin Jiej was amused by Shi Yao's reaction, and his lips curled up a little. Then, he pushed the cup and chopsticks that he had just rinsed with tea water over to her and took away the unopened utensils in front of her. "It's fortunate that you're allies. For a moment, I thought that you were the enemy. However, I still broke out in cold sweat back then. I was so afraid that I'd be called over to speak to a lie detector." Shi Yao patted her chest in relief and said, "It's fortunate that Qin Yiran was so angry that she forgot about me. Otherwise, if she were to insist that I speak to the lie detector, I'd really be dead meat." Hearing those words, Lin Jiej turned to look at Shi Yao. While unpacking the cutlery that he had just taken from her, he replied, "That won't happen." Shi Yao was taken aback for a moment, and she blinked her eyes in astonishment. "Ah." Lu Benlai gave her an incomparably detailed explanation. "What our boss means is that no matter what you say, you won't be exposed. That's because that little program of his has taken you into account as well, so even if you were to spout a huge lie, the lie detector wouldn't dare ring out at all." "I see." Understanding the situation, Shi Yao couldn't help but mutter under her breath, "Your method is really too treacherous, but I like it." Chapter 605. Jiang Yu, that's right. Why did you ask Tian to call so many students over to the forest? Couldn't you have just asked the head of academic affairs to head over alone? Before Shi Yao could say a word, Leng Wan, who was seated beside Jiang Yu and opposite to Lu Benlai, spoke up with a cold voice. "The head of the academic affairs bureau is there to punish Qin Yiran, and Tian is calling over those students to spread the news." Lu Benlai didn't really understand what the girls were talking about, but seeing that Leng Wan had spoken up, he nodded without any hesitation and agreed, "That's right. Leng Wan is right." Leng Wan raised her eyes and looked at Lu Benlai expressionlessly. Lu Benlai didn't mind her coldness at all. As soon as he met her gaze, he flashed a radiant smile. Noticing Lu Benlai's smile, Leng Wan quickly retracted her gaze and turned back to her phone. Jiang Yu shook her head and said, "I don't really understand what Wan is trying to say." Shi Yao was already used to Jiang Yu's slow-witted reactions, so she softened her voice and explained the situation to Jiang Yu in detail. "The reason why I sent a message to Tian telling her to bring the head of the academic affairs office and a few other students to the forest 10 minutes after I met up with Chiniran is because those students will surely gossip after witnessing everything that happened tonight. By then, it'll reach the forum, and Chiniran's post on the forum will be destroyed without a fight. Oh, I get it now. Jiang Yu nodded in realization. He Tian, then, Yao, are the wounds on your face really fine? That bastard Chiniran is too much. She's so vicious. Jiang Yu, that's right. When I see her outside the academy, I'll teach her a lesson. Hearing Jiang Yu's words, Shuyao hurriedly waved her hands and said, there's no need for that. She didn't hit me at all. Lin Jiej, who had been sitting beside Shuyao and listening to their conversation calmly, suddenly turned his head to look at Shuyao in surprise. Oblivious to Lin Jiej's reaction, Shuyao noticed the astonished looks on Jiang Yu and He Tiantian's faces, so she quickly explained with a smile, the bruises on my face and neck aren't injuries but allergies. These lumps might look scary, but that's because I applied some ointment on them myself. After a good night's sleep, I'll be fine tomorrow. He Tian. So, Chiniran didn't hit you at all? If so, the handprint on her face was from you. The waiter served the barbecue. Shuyao, who was in a hurry to eat, nodded her head vehemently. He Tian, it's no wonder Chiniran broke down so easily. Looks like she's suffering in silence tonight. Ling Wan, she only has herself to blame. This is the only way to deal with someone like her. Yao is giving her a taste of her own medicine. Lu Benlai, that's right, campus farce Qin only has himself to blame. Ling Wan raised her head to look at Lu Benlai. With a smile still on his face, Lu Benlai placed the freshly peeled prawns onto Ling Wan's plate. Ling Wan immediately lowered her head with an icy expression, but she didn't return the prawns Lu Benlai had placed on her plate. He Tian, Yao, what about the wound on your leg? Is it fake too? After swallowing the food in her mouth, Shuyao shook her head and replied, that's not it. It's real. I heard you guys coming over, so I accidentally cut myself. However, the wound isn't deep, so I thought that since I'm already injured, I might as well make use of it. So, I squeezed the wound with all my might, and a bunch of blood was squeezed out. That's how that scary drawing appeared. Chapter 606. Before Shuyao could finish her words, Lin Jiej, who was seated beside her, suddenly stood up. His movements were a little too loud, so he alarmed Shuyao. Shuyao instinctively turned her head to look at the seat beside her, but due to his tall stature, she only caught a glimpse of a pure white robe before he walked away. With a mutton skewer in his mouth, Lu Benlai turned around and asked in bewilderment, "Boss, where are you going?" Lin Jiej didn't say a word, only leaving behind his back as he walked away. Ah. After the door closed, Lu Benlai turned around and said, "Little Junior, continue." Boss might be. Lu Benlai was just about to say that he needed to pee, but before he could finish his words, Ling Wan, who was sitting opposite him, slowly swallowed the potato chip in her mouth before raising her head and saying, "He's unhappy." Oblivious to the change in Lin Jiej's expression, Shuyao widened her eyes in bewilderment and asked, "Unhappy?" Lu Benlai, who also didn't notice anything amiss, heard Ling Wan's words and replied without any hesitation, "Yes, Ling Wan is right. Boss might be unhappy." Shuyao turned to look at Lu Benlai with a peculiar gaze and asked, "Are you sure?" She could still trust Ling Wan's words, but why couldn't she trust Lu Benlai's words? For some reason, she felt that he was trying to suck up to Lu Benlai. Lu Benlai, "I'm sure, of course I'm sure. I've known Boss for so long, so I know that he's thirsty when he moves his lips. I know that he's hungry when he kicks his feet. I know that he's tired when he raises his chin, even though Yao couldn't figure out what Lu Benlai's kicking feet and hungry had to do with each other. She pondered over it for a moment and concluded that Lu Benlai probably understood Lin Jiej better than she did. So, she turned to Leng Wan and asked, "But why is he unhappy? It's not like we provoked him." Leng Wan could only sense that Lin Jiej was unhappy, but she couldn't figure out the reason behind it. Facing Yao's question, she shook her head and replied, "I really don't understand. Tian, I can't tell that Senior Lin is unhappy at all." Jiang Yu, oh, I finally get it now. Yao, you weren't the one who was beaten, but you pretended to be beaten to slander Qin Ran. Yao, you sure is a good ruse. Everyone at the table turned to look at Jiang Yu in unison. Seeing that everyone was staring at her, Jiang Yu smiled in confusion. "What's wrong? Why are you all looking at me?" Everyone shook their heads in unison. Nothing, but in his heart, he was thinking, "Girl, your reflex arc is really long." Thus, the topic returned back to Lin Jiej's displeasure. While everyone was busy expressing their opinions, Tian picked up a bowl of pig's brain and placed it in front of Jiang Yu. Yeah, eat more of this." The entire table of people discussed for roughly 5 minutes, but they were unable to come to a conclusion. In the end, Lu Benlai came up with an answer: "Our boss's temper has always been volatile. It's just like the weather in Beijing in June. In the afternoon, the sky would be clear and blue, but in the evening, a storm would suddenly strike. So, there's no need to think too much into it. Once he returns, everything will be fine. Come, let's eat while it's hot." Under Lu Benlai's persuasion, everyone began eating once more. Yao, who had the greatest appetite, grabbed a skewer of her favorite honey-glazed chicken wings and took 2 bites before coming to a stop. Chapter 607. Is Lin Jiej really displeased with me? Then why on earth was he unhappy? Also, why isn't he back yet? Yao tilted her head and stared at Lin Jiej's empty seat for a moment before turning her head back to take a bite of a chicken wing. Usually, when it came to food, she wouldn't be in the mood to think about anything else. But this time, after chewing on the chicken wing for a while, she stared at the table full of people chatting merrily for a moment before putting down the chicken wing. She took out her phone and sent a message to Lin Jiej, "Where did you go?" Roughly half a minute later, her phone vibrated in her hand. Lin Jiej had replied to her message, "I came out to buy something." Lin Jiej doesn't look like he's angry at all. Yao's uneasy heart calmed down in an instant, and she replied, "Oh. Hurry back then. The barbecue won't taste good when it gets cold." Lin Jiej replied with an and didn't say anything else. After confirming that Leng Wan and Lu Benlai had misread Lin Jiej's mood, Yao put down her phone and focused on her barbecue. Roughly 10 minutes after sending Lin Jiej the message, Lin Jiej finally returned to his room. Everyone in the room heard the door open, and they hurriedly greeted him. "Boss, Senior Lin Jiej, you're back." Yao chewed on a piece of corn as she tilted her head back to look at Lin Jiej and asked with a smile on her face. Lin Jiej didn't say a word throughout the entire exchange. However, when he saw Yao's radiant smile, he lowered his head to look at her. After hesitating for roughly 3 seconds, he gave her a slight nod before pulling out a chair and taking a seat. With Lu Benlai around, even though Lin Jiej was acting nonchalantly, it didn't affect the atmosphere in the room at all. Yao leaned over to Lin Jiej's side and asked softly, "What did you go to buy?" Lin Jiej remained silent. Yao didn't pay it any heed. She picked up the freshly added lamb skewer and placed it on Lin Jiej's plate, saying, "You haven't eaten yet. Hurry up and eat." Lin Jiej still didn't say a word, nor did he move. Yao finally noticed something amiss. "Why aren't you eating?" Hearing her urging, Lin Jiej turned his head to look at her before picking up the lamb skewers. Shi Yao didn't say a word, but she could sense that Lin Jiej was truly unhappy. Ling Wan and Lu Benlai weren't mistaken about his emotions. Shi Yao was tempted to ask Lin Jiej what he was unhappy about, but the two of them weren't the only ones in the room. The others were still in the midst of chatting with one another, and her sudden question would only spoil the mood of the group. So, after a moment of contemplation, Shi Yao chose to remain silent. No one was drinking. They were just eating. Not long after, it was time to leave. While Lin Jiej and Shi Yao returned home, the others returned to the academy. As it was nearing 11, the doors to the dormitory were going to be locked soon. So, at 10:50, Lu Benlai left with Leng Wan, Jiang Yu, and He Tian. Soon, only Shi Yao and Lin Jiej were left in the suite. Lin Jiej had been silent for the entire night, so the entire suite was eerily silent. The two of them sat in their respective seats for a while before Lin Jiej called the waiter over to settle the bill. Chapter 608. Shi Yao's body instinctively shuddered. She turned her head to look at Lin Jiej and asked, "What's wrong?" Lin Jiej was still as silent as ever, but his grip on her wrist didn't show the slightest sign of loosening. He shot a glance at her before standing up and kicking the chair behind him lightly to the side. After which, he dragged Shi Yao over to the chair that he had been sitting on earlier and pressed her down onto it. "Lin Jiej, what are you doing?" Shi Yao was completely bewildered by Lin Jiej's actions. But before she could finish her doubtful words, Lin Jiej had already kneeled down in front of her and grabbed her ankle. In an instant, Shi Yao's voice disappeared without a trace. For a moment, she was unable to process what was going on. She first looked at her leg before turning to look at Lin Jiej. When she finally caught her breath, she was just about to ask him, "What's wrong?" when she saw Lin Jiej taking out a box of medicine from his pocket. Shi Yao recognized the medicine. It was the famous Yunnan Bai Yao. It had the effects of stopping bleeding, healing wounds, reducing inflammation, and reducing swelling. It was only after Lin Jiej unscrewed the cap and carefully applied the medicine on Shi Yao's leg that Shi Yao realized that Lin Jiej had actually used both his hands. Without any hesitation, she exclaimed, "We haven't checked your right hand yet, so why did you?" Before she could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already raised his head to look at her and said, "It's fine." Seemingly noticing her displeasure, he was afraid that she would continue pestering him over this matter, so he paused for 3 seconds before adding, "It's fine as long as you don't use too much strength." Shi Yao wanted to object, but this time, before her words could even reach her throat, she was stifled once more. The suite fell silent once more. Shi Yao stared at Lin Jiej's hand for a moment, and the more she looked at it, the more familiar it seemed to her. It was as if she had seen it somewhere before. But before she could figure out where this familiar feeling came from, Lin Jiej had already finished applying the medicine on her wound. Shi Yao stared at the band-aid on her shallow wound for a moment before a thought suddenly came to her mind. She raised her head and asked, "Back then, you said that you went out to buy something. Did you go out to buy medicine?" Lin Jiej didn't say a word. He only replied with a very faint before standing up and patting the dust off his knees. Then, he turned to Shi Yao and said, "Let's go." Without saying a word, Shi Yao followed Lin Jiej out of the suite. After exiting the barbecue restaurant, it was a pedestrian street. During the day, the streets were filled with people, but because it was late, it was especially quiet. Shi Yao and Lin Jiej walked to the side of the road one after another. After walking for around 100 meters, Shi Yao raised her head and glanced at Lin Jiej's back. At that time, he had gone out to buy medicine. Before he left, she had proudly told them about the wound on her leg. Then could it be that he was unhappy because of what she had said? But why was he unhappy? A slight frown appeared on Yao's forehead. She pondered for a moment before coming to a realization. Yao hesitated for a moment before hastening her footsteps to catch up to Lin Jie. When they were standing side by side, she broke the silence and asked, "Are you angry? And you're angry at me?" Lin Jie was stunned for a moment, but he still didn't say a word. Chapter 609. Had it been in the past, Yao wouldn't have dared to be so confident. But at this moment, she had no idea where her confidence came from, but she was so certain of it. After saying those words, she continued without waiting for Lin Jie's response, "Actually, I swear that it was really an accident this time. I didn't think that I would get cut, or else I could have escaped unscathed. I just think that Qin Iran is too hateful. Since I'm injured, I should make use of my wounds to the fullest. Otherwise, wouldn't I have gotten injured for nothing? But don't worry, I won't be so careless in the future. If I encounter such a situation again, I'll be careful and try my best not to injure Yao." Lin Jie suddenly spoke up, interrupting Yao's rambling. Yao shut her mouth. Lin Jie took 2 steps forward before continuing. Yao, I'm not angry at you. He's not angry at me. Did I guess wrongly? Yao thought that shouldn't be the case. I'm angry at myself, Lin Jie replied. I'm angry at myself for allowing you to get injured right under my nose. I'm angry at myself for promising to be your 110. I'm angry at myself for failing to protect you. I'm angry at myself for courting a rotten peach blossom and implicating you. Hearing Lin Jie's words, Yao was stunned. He said that he wasn't angry at her but at himself. Does he mean that he's blaming himself? But this matter wasn't his fault either. Yao opened her mouth, and it took a long while before she finally spoke. It's not your fault. I was the one who wanted to do it, so I can't blame you. Yao wanted to reassure Lin Jie, but she didn't know how she should console him. After stumbling for a while, she finally decided to follow her heart and reveal everything that she had been thinking and doing. Just like that, without her realizing it, she said. I didn't know what happened at first, and it was Tian who told me about it on the phone. After that, I went to the forums to take a look, and I saw Qin Iran talking about Nuanyuan. You should know that Liang Mumu's friends were the ones who provoked us during the KTV incident. It's not like Nuanyuan wanted to become a phoenix and went to look for them on her own accord. Other than Nuanyuan, you were also involved. Upon hearing those words, Lin Jie's footsteps faltered slightly. Oblivious to Zhang Xian's reaction, Yao continued speaking. I know that you're doing this for my own good, so you went to the forums to clarify the matter, but they're saying that you've been cuckolded, that love is a ray of light, that you're so cuckolded that you're going crazy. The person who said those words is probably the one who's been cuckolded. His entire family has been cuckolded. So, the reason why Soft Bun went to look for Qin Iran so angrily wasn't because she had been slandered by Qin Iran, but because of him. As for the girl that Lu Benlai likes, she's probably just a passing fella. Hearing those words, the indescribable stifling feeling in Lin Jie's heart dissipated in an instant, and in its place was an indescribable delight. No, it was ecstasy. Speaking of the forum, Yao couldn't help but feel a little angry. Don't you think that those spectators are really going overboard? It's as if they're just here to watch a show, and they're already ridiculing and criticizing Zhang Xian indiscriminately. Chapter 610. In their eyes, is it because they don't have that much money that others won't be able to do what they can't do? Also, do you think that you can show a property ownership certificate to anyone? There's personal information on it. Do they know how to respect one's privacy? Do you know that the person who asked you to show your property ownership certificate is just like an author I saw on Weibo? Someone said that her age wasn't what it was advertised to the public, and she insisted on showing her identity certificate to clarify the matter. Do you think that person is a lunatic? They want to control the heavens, the earth, and even others. Do they know that the greatest success they can achieve is to control themselves? All in all, I was really angry when I saw their words, but there were so many people watching the show, so I couldn't possibly go and settle the scores with them one by one, could I? That's why I blamed all of this on Dreamy. Since she was the one who started the matter, it goes without saying that she should be the one to clarify the matter. However, even though Dreamy is feeling good about it, I'm still a little angry at those people on the forum. I haven't even seen your property ownership certificate before, so what right do they have to show it to the public? Also, money. I don't even know how much money you have, so how could they possibly know about it? Xiaoyao muttered to herself for a very, very long time. By the time she was done, she realized that she hadn't received any response from Lin Jiej despite asking, right, several times. She subconsciously turned around to look at Lin Jiej, but before she could see his expression, Lin Jiej suddenly passed his phone screen to her and said, "This is my current savings." The page on Lin Jiej's phone screen was the bank page. The long string of numbers on the screen left Xiaoyao's head in a daze. She had to look at the screen and count a few times before she realized that there were 9 digits in his bank account, and if she included the decimal point, it would be 11 digits. There were simply too many numbers, and Xiaoyao couldn't make sense of what they meant. She silently counted with her fingers, and it was only then that she realized that there were more than 100 million in his bank account. What insane savings! Other than that, there's also... After saying those words, Lin Jiej tapped on the screen a few times, and another page appeared before Xiaoyao. These are the wealth management funds that I bought, and the approximate amount is here. Also, these are the stocks. The stock market hasn't been doing too well recently, so I haven't been earning as much as before. I have 3 houses. One is a villa in the suburbs. It will only be finished by the end of this year. The other one is where you live now. The last one is an office building. As for the property certificates, they are all in the safe at home. It's in the study. You've seen it before. The password is 888,888. There are gems, gold bars, and US dollars inside. Anyway, I don't remember how much they are worth. Go home and count them if you want to see them. The certificates are all inside. Chapter 6:11. Wait a minute. Her brain was a little off, and she couldn't keep up with what was going on. Weren't you criticizing those people on the forum? How did it suddenly become Lin Jiej's asset? Coming to a realization, Xiaoyao hurriedly interrupted Lin Jiej's words. Did we go off topic? Did I? Lin Jiej retorted. Didn't you say that you wanted to know how much money I have? Xiaoyao was taken aback by Lin Jiej's retort. She stared at Lin Jiej blankly for a moment before realizing that he was referring to what she had said earlier. Even I don't know how much money you have, so how could they possibly know? I was just using it as an analogy. I didn't really want to know. After explaining the situation, Xiaoyao continued. But now that I know, I can no longer look you in the eye. Lin Jiej replied with a perplexed, With a serious look on her face, Xiaoyao said, with that insane amount of savings, do you know that when I look at you now, I feel as if you're ice cream, fruit, chocolate, milk, Western food, Chinese food, pasta. As long as it's edible, you're automatically switching between it. Lin Jiej, he was rendered speechless. It was fortunate that he knew her well, so his worldview wasn't shattered. Lin Jiej, then, are you interested in becoming like me? As long as you look in the mirror, you'll feel as if you're constantly switching between all kinds of edible food. Xiaoyao's eyes lit up. How? Are you going to teach me how to earn money? Lin Jiej, Earning money is too difficult, so it's not suitable for you. I'll teach you a way to earn money while lying down. What do you mean by earning money is too difficult, so it's not suitable for you? Shi Yao could vaguely hear that she was being looked down upon, and her lips twitched. However, she still asked with interest, "What is it?" "Marry me." Lin Jie replied nonchalantly. Shi Yao staggered, and she nearly fell to the ground. "I'm serious. If you marry me, we'll be able to obtain 35% of grandfather's shares. Compared to the market value of grandfather's shares, this bit of money I have is nothing at all. We can split the shares 50-50, and if you think that you're on the losing end, how about 40-60? I'll take 40, and you take 60. If that doesn't work, 30-70, and I'll take 30, and you take 70. Frightened, Shi Yao hurriedly waved her hands and said, you can't joke around like that. This isn't a joke. Even if it's a joke that can become real." Lin Jie was still as relaxed as ever, and there was a hint of nonchalance in his tone. However, Shi Yao's heartbeat somehow quickened upon hearing those words. Even if she was a little slow on the uptake at times, she knew that Lin Jie was actually being serious behind his nonchalance. Think about it, a single drop of blood can only be replenished with 7 buns. You're more or less part of the reason why I'm going to settle the score with Qiniran tonight. So, you have to take responsibility for the blood that I've lost. I don't care, you have to treat me to delicacies to replenish the blood that I've lost. As she spoke, she began to list the dishes she wanted to eat. I want to eat spicy fish, boiled pork slices, crab roe tofu. Lin Jie didn't say a word, but he could tell that she was trying to avoid it. His expression didn't change much, but a hint of darkness flashed across the depths of his eyes. Chapter 6:12. I want more. Braised lion's head, abalone, sea cucumber. Just as Shi Yao was going through the names of countless dishes, the silent Lin Jie suddenly spoke up, Yao Yao. I'm sorry, Lin Jie's words came too abruptly. It was as if someone had sealed Shi Yao's acupoints. Her footsteps abruptly came to a halt, and even the soft and crisp voice she had been trying to muster up had gone silent. Lin Jie also stopped walking after Shi Yao. He stared at the empty road in front of him for a moment before slowly turning around to look at Shi Yao. Yao Yao, I'm sorry. Shi Yao snapped out of her daze and slowly turned around to meet Lin Jie's eyes. There was confusion and bewilderment on her face, but even more than that, there was shock and astonishment. Meeting her gaze, Lin Jie didn't remain silent for too long this time. He quickly added, I'm sorry, Yao Yao. His tone was very earnest and sincere, as if he was making an important vow, solemn and solemn. Shi Yao opened her mouth. Why did you? She only managed to say those 4 words before she suddenly stopped. However, he seemed to understand what she wanted to ask. He stared straight into her eyes as he silently went through the words he wanted to say in his heart. Then, with a soft and gentle voice, he said, when I first heard of your name, I was 16 years old. I was in my 2nd year of high school. Back then, my drawer was filled with love letters of all colors, but I really wasn't interested in girls. Back then, I thought that playing games or kicking a ball around with a male classmate was much more interesting than playing with girls. I still remember the day when the midterm exams ended. The test paper was rather difficult. I was the only one in the entire school to get a perfect score in both comprehensive science and mathematics, and I was even 30 points ahead of the 2nd place, so I felt a sense of superiority. Back then, I didn't know how to flaunt my results, but I didn't want my family to know about it. So, before I entered the house, I unzipped my bag and revealed half of my paper. I thought that if I tossed my bag onto the sofa, the paper would surely fall out, and no matter who saw it, it would surely spread like wildfire. But Lin Jiej lowered his head slightly as a smile crept onto his face, reminiscent of the scheming he had done in the past. Things didn't go as I wished. Not only did I fail to flaunt my results, my grandfather even called me into the study. He sternly pointed at you and your parents, who were at our house back then, and said, "Let me introduce you. Jiej, this is your fiancé, Shi Yao." How should I put this feeling then? It's just that I really found it ridiculous. I don't have much interest in girls, but I don't intend to be a monk for the rest of my life either. I think that this is a matter of fate, so I really couldn't accept it back then. As you can see, I rejected him right in front of you and your parents. Chapter 6:13. Later on, I tried to rebel against my grandfather. I tried all sorts of methods, jumping off a building, going on a hunger strike, running away from home. I tried everything, but it was all useless. My grandfather didn't fall for my tricks at all. Back then, I really felt despair. For some inexplicable reason, I had a fiancé. It was embarrassing and infuriating. That led to the scene where I called you to our backyard and spat so many harsh words at you. How should I put this? I really didn't know that the two of us would end up like this. If I had known that things would end up like this, I would have never said so many harsh words to you. If time could be reversed, if the heavens were to give me another chance, if I could really return to that autumn, if I were to return to my grandfather's study when I returned home, and he pointed to you and said, "Jiej, this is your fiancé, Shi Yao," I would have replied with, "Nice to meet you, Shi Yao. It's our first time meeting, and I look forward to meeting you." In the beginning, he really didn't think that he would like her. Later on, he really didn't think that he would like her so much. So, in this world, there really was medicine for regret, or a time machine. If he could really go back to the day he first met her, he would definitely not vent his frustrations on her after his grandfather forced him to do it. But it was a pity that this was just his expectations. There was no medicine for regret, and there was no way he could return to the past. Even if he didn't like her now, those words he said when they were young were still too much, and he should apologize for them. After all, in this marriage, he was just like her, a victim. Ever since the day she moved into his house a month ago, he had learned that she was still brooding over those past events, and he had been thinking about how he could salvage the situation. His heartless words were as sharp as swords, perhaps even sharper than swords. Even a cut made by a sword would leave a scar, not to mention, what he had left behind was a wound in her heart. After much thought, he felt that the best way to salvage the situation was to sincerely apologize to her. After all, a mistake was a mistake. Even if he tried to cover it up, he wouldn't be able to change the fact that he was wrong. Rather than cowering in fear, he might as well openly admit his mistake. Besides, there was a saying that went, "Whoever tied the bell should untie it." He was the one who tied the knot, so naturally, he had to undo it himself. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej apologized once more. "Yao Yao, I'm really sorry. Although I didn't mean to hurt you, I still hurt you. I admit to my mistake." Never in Shi Yao's wildest dreams could she have imagined that Lin Jiej would apologize to her because of the past. Did she mind what he had said? Of course she minded. It was so hurtful to her self-esteem that when she was young, she would often feel a little inferior whenever she thought of what he said. In fact, because of how he called her a silly girl, she would even eat sesame, black beans, and black rice for a long time, just to make her hair look less malnourished. Resentment. Of course it was resentment. No girl could remain indifferent after being ridiculed by a boy, right? Shi Yao had always thought that she would hold a grudge against him until the very end, but after hearing Lin Jiej's apology, she realized that those grudges weren't as indestructible as she had thought them to be. Chapter 6:14. Perhaps that was just how humans were most of the time. Grudges and resentment were nothing more than the grievances in their hearts. Lin Jiej's apologies had already made the pent-up anger in her heart dissipate into thin air. Shi Yao was never one to haggle over minor matters. She was a person who preferred to settle grudges and love without hesitation. After all, life was a bitter one, and if one was too fixated on trivial matters, it would only make one unhappy. Thus, when Liang Mumu betrayed her, she didn't hesitate to sever all ties between them. As such, when Lin Jiej apologized to her sincerely, she also chose to head over to his side without any hesitation. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao said, "Well, let's just let bygones be bygones." Lin Jiej really didn't think that Shi Yao would forgive him so easily. He asked in astonishment, "Bygones?" Shi Yao nodded. That's right, Lin Jiej still found it hard to believe. You mean to say that those matters are in the past? You don't mind and get angry anymore? Shi Yao nodded her head vehemently. That's right, that's right. I'm magnanimous enough to accept your apology and choose to forgive you. Lin Jiej still felt that happiness had come too suddenly, as if he was dreaming. He pinched himself, and when he felt a bone-piercing pain, he suppressed his joy and asked, "Are you really able to stop being angry and not mind it anymore?" What do you mean by that? Shi Yao was a little displeased by Lin Jiej's repeated questions. She puffed up her cheeks and asked, "Do I look like a petty person to you?" He had only asked a few more questions, so why did it turn into him thinking that she was a petty person? Lin Jiej really couldn't understand Shi Yao's thoughts, but his innate desire to live made him reply without any hesitation, "No. In my eyes, you've always been a generous, bright, and gluttonous person." Generous, bright, and gluttonous. What kind of description was that? But she liked it. Shi Yao's eyes immediately curled up into a smile. I also think that I'm a generous, bright, and gluttonous person." Lin Jiej's expression didn't change much, but there was a very faint hint of a smile at the corner of his eyes and lips. It was early autumn in Beijing. When the night wind blew, it was somewhat chilly. Shi Yao had left the house in a hurry, so she was only wearing a thin shirt. A gust of wind blew past, causing her to shiver uncontrollably. She pointed to the road not too far away and asked, "Can we leave now?" Lin Jiej nodded. Shi Yao turned around impatiently. Just as she was about to raise her leg, Lin Jiej suddenly spoke up once more, "Yao Yao, since we've chosen to go back to the past, let's just pretend that those unhappy events never happen from now on, all right?" Shi Yao halted her footsteps and turned around. His eyes were very beautiful. In the darkness of the night, there was a faint glimmer of light. Immersed in Lin Jiej's gaze, Shi Yao fell into a daze for a moment before nodding her head lightly. "All right then. Let's forget about those unpleasant memories and pretend that they never happened." Then Lin Jiej took a step forward and extended his hand toward Shi Yao. "It's nice to meet you, Shi Yao. Even though this isn't our first meeting, I look forward to meeting you." Chapter 6:15. If there was something in this world that could spread faster than the speed of light, Shi Yao thought that it must be gossip. She thought that the events that happened tonight would only spread on the school forum the next day. But little did she expect that by the time she returned to Lin Jiej's house, she would be lying on her bed after a shower, and the forum had already exploded. Those who had been called over by He Tian had secretly recorded a video of the incident and posted it on the school forum. In an instant, those who were criticizing her and Lin Jiej had all sided with Qin Ran. Shi Yao was already very sleepy, but she still suppressed her sleepiness and scrolled through the school forum to take a look at how badly Qin Ran was being criticized. There were quite a few who were criticizing Qin Ran, but as Shi Yao looked around, she realized that there were even more who were praising Lin Jiej. I told you, my Adonis won't be cuckolded. That person who said that my Adonis is cuckolded, please step forward. So, my husband really bought a house in a place where every inch of land is worth its weight in gold. Previous poster, please watch your words. Your so-called husband is actually Yao's fiancé, and a fiancé to boot. Furthermore, he's already living with her. Who knows, they might even have a baby next year. By the time Yao graduates from university, the baby might already be old enough to be a housekeeper. Yao was still gleeful when she saw the first sentence. Not only did Lin Jiej buy a house in a place where every inch of land is worth its weight in gold, he even owned a villa of more than 1,000 square meters in the suburbs, an office building at Second Ring Road, a 9-digit savings account, and many funds and stocks. Not only that, she even knew the passwords to Lin Jiej's bank card and safety deposit box. However, upon seeing the final sentence, Yao nearly choked on the milk she was drinking. The most she could accept was that he was going to be her fiancé. As for the part about him having a baby next year, that was pure bullsh*t. Of course, the part about her graduating from university and having a baby was the most bullsh*t of all. She and Lin Jiej were clearly innocent, so how could they possibly have a baby? These people sure are enjoying the show. Yao had wanted to see Qin Ran get scolded to cheer her up, but in the end, she backed out of the forum with a stifled heart. Putting down her empty glass of milk, she climbed onto her bed, switched off the lights, and went to sleep. At the same time, in G University's male dormitory, everyone had fallen asleep, but Han Jing was still awake. He stared at the video of Lin Jiej speaking to the lie detector on the school forum over and over again. Yao is my fiancé. Yao is staying at my house. He had lost count of how many times he had read it, but at some point, the scene of Qin Ran walking up to him with an umbrella while he was escorting Yao back to her dormitory under the heavy rain a few days ago suddenly surfaced in his mind. Yao has a fiancé. They were engaged 6 years ago. It's been more than a year, but she didn't tell you about this at all. The next day, it was time for Lin Jiej to head to the hospital for a checkup. Once again, Yao drove Lin Jiej there. After a series of complicated examinations, 2 hours had already passed. The results of the checkup were good, and Lin Jiej was completely fine. However, to be on the safe side, the doctor still reminded Lin Jiej not to exert too much force on his right hand for the next month. By the time they left the hospital, it was already noon. The famished Yao was just about to discuss what to eat with Lin Jiej when Lin Jiej's phone rang. Chapter 6:16. Lin Jiej took out his phone and took a look at the screen before answering the call. Not bothering to avoid Yao, he spoke into the phone right in front of her, "What's wrong?" After which, he replied with, "Oh, I got it," before hanging up. He turned to Yao and said, "We have to make a trip to China World Hotel. Grandfather and the others are waiting for us there for lunch." "Grandfather?" Yao exclaimed in astonishment. "Why would grandfather suddenly call us for lunch?" "I'm not too sure." Lin Jiej was equally confused, but he didn't think too much into it. He quickly added, "Perhaps it's because grandfather hasn't seen us for a long time, so he just wants to see us." Yao's favorite restaurant was Beijing World Hotel, so she didn't even think about whether there would be any problems. She nodded her head in agreement and nodded before heading to her car. Before getting into the car, Yao seemed to have thought of something, and she turned to Lin Jiej and said, "It's a good thing that my face was allergic yesterday. If it was today, Grandfather Lin would surely ask me non-stop. What's more, I'm wearing a long dress today. If Grandfather Lin were to see the wound on my leg, he would surely grumble about it for a long time." Noticing the look on Yao's face as if she had struck the jackpot, Lin Jiej's expression softened a little. Without saying a word, he opened the car door for her. After she was seated, he walked around the front of the car and got in. After fastening their seatbelts, he stepped on the accelerator and drove to China World Hotel. The hospital wasn't too far away from China World Hotel, so it only took them 20 minutes to reach their destination. A moment after the car came to a halt, a waiter immediately walked over and opened the door for them. In order to save time, Lin Jiej didn't park the car. Instead, he tossed the car keys to the doorman and followed the waiter up the stairs with Shuyao. When they arrived at the entrance of the suite, Lin Jiej and Shuyao realized that grandfather Lin had booked a suite that could accommodate more than 20 people. Did grandfather call for someone else for lunch? Shuyao chased after Lin Jiej and asked the question in her mind. At that moment, the door to the suite was pushed open by the waiter. Without waiting for Lin Jiej to speak, Shuyao raised her head and looked into the compartment. In the massive room, other than Grandpa Lin and Auntie Sun, Lin Jiej's parents, aunt, uncle, and sis Jai were also there. Other than that, Shuyao's parents, aunt and son, Shuyao's cousin, Gu Nanxiang, were also present. What was going on? Why are the elders of the two families here? In a daze, Shuyao turned to look at Lin Jiej, who was standing beside her. Just like her, Lin Jiej also had a perplexed look on his face. However, compared to Luo Ruoxin, whose thoughts were written all over her face, his expression was still relatively calm. Jiej, Yao Yao, you're here. The one who spoke up was Lin Jiej's aunt, Lin Gunan. Seeing that the two of them were still standing at the entrance, she gestured to the remaining 2 seats at the table and urged them, "Come in and take a seat. What are you standing at the entrance for?" Shuyao and Lin Jiej entered the suite one after another. Lin Jiej simply greeted Shuyao's parents, aunt, and Gu Nanxiang politely. Chapter 617. After Shuyao was done with her greetings, she discreetly asked Gu Nanxiang, "Why are you all here too?" Gu Nanxiang, who was in the midst of playing his game, raised his head and replied to Lin Jiej with a brother-in-law. After which, without even sparing Shuyao a glance, he continued playing his game as he replied, "How would I know? I went to your place with my mom, but before my butt could even touch the sofa, I was already called here, Shuyao. I knew that people who handed in blank papers for exams were unreliable. Shuyao, why didn't you hand in blank papers during the college entrance examination too?" Gu Nanxiang shot a sideways glance at Shuyao and replied, "You were the one who told me not to." Shuyao. She really did warn him that if he dared to hand in blank papers for the college entrance examination, she'd make him spend every day and night with his papers. Rendered speechless by Gu Nanxiang's words, Shuyao ignored him and walked past him. She turned to Lin Jiej and asked softly, "Sis Jiej, what's going on today?" Right after Shuyao finished her words, Grandpa Lin spoke up, "All right, everyone is here. Auntie Sun, get the waiters to serve the dishes. As for me, I'll talk about the main reason why I gathered everyone here today." Out of respect, Shuyao didn't continue speaking to Lin Jiej. Instead, she straightened her back and looked at Grandpa Lin. As if he had just received a joyous occasion, Grandpa Lin chuckled and continued, "Before Yao Yao and Jiej were born, Yao Yao's grandfather and I had already decided on their marriage. Later on, I got separated from Yao Yao's grandfather, and we never contacted each other. It was only 6 years ago that we met again, and it was also around that time that Yao Yao and Jiej's marriage was officially decided. I believe that everyone should be aware of the situation now, so I won't elaborate any further. I'll just get to the main point." As Grandpa Lin spoke, he turned to Shuyao's parents and said, "Actually, Yao Yao is still young, and I was thinking of giving her a few more years of freedom. However, these 2 children have been living together behind our backs for a month now." Hearing those words, Shuyao finally understood the purpose of this meal. So, the reason why Grandpa Lin gathered everyone here was to force them into a marriage. And this table full of people was simply a group of people trying to force her to marry. Right after Grandpa Lin said those words, Lin Jie's mother, Jiang Wangue, frowned and said, "A month? How long has it been?" "Old Master Lin, isn't that so?" Lin Jie's and Lin Gunan, who knows, he might even have a child. Hearing those words, Shi Yao's heart skipped a beat. What was going on? Why was it that overnight, whether it was on the school forum or even during a meal, everyone was talking about her having a baby? Old Mr. Lin seemed to be very satisfied with Lin Gunan's maybe. He nodded with certainty. Yes, Gunan is right. So, this is a big matter. Whether it's for Yao Yao or the child in Yao Yao's stomach, our family must give an explanation today. Wait. She was a virgin, how could she have a child in her stomach? Chapter 6:18. Lin Jie's father, Lin Gubei, nodded in agreement. Yes, I agree with Dad. Lin Jie's uncle, Xia Yang, nodded in agreement. Marriage is a must. Firstly, it's to take responsibility for Yao Yao, and secondly, it's to take responsibility for the child in Yao Yao's womb. No. Upon hearing the words child in her womb once more, Shi Yao instinctively spoke up. But barely after she said that word, Lin Jie's aunt, Lin Gunan, acted as if she hadn't heard Shi Yao at all and spoke up, that's right. In any case, they're already engaged, and it's only a matter of time before they get married. Besides, they can't allow Yao Yao to wander around the academy with a pregnant belly. In order for the child in her womb to be born honorably, marriage is a must. If they don't get married, they won't even be able to get a birth permit. Am I right, sister-in-law? Shi Yao felt that there was no way she could wash away the fact that she was pregnant, so she spoke up once more. Just like before, she only said a single word before Lin Jie's mother, Jiang Wangue, took up Lin Gunan's words. Yes, Jie has to take responsibility. I have no objections to that. We'll do as father says. Lin. Shi Yao spoke up once more, unwilling to give up. It was as if they had agreed on this beforehand. Yet again, she only managed to say a single word before Lin Jie interjected. Does that mean that I'm going to be an aunt soon? I still feel like a young lady. Grandpa Lin, does that mean that I'm going to be a great-grandfather soon? Sigh, time really flies, it really goes by quickly. Lin Gunan, Jie and Jie's birth felt like it was only yesterday, but in the blink of an eye, Jie's child is going to be born soon. Lin Gubei, it's really hard to get used to suddenly becoming a grandfather, don't you think so, honey? Jiang Wangue calmly replied with an Shi Yao. What in the world is going on? No child, there's no child at all. Shi Yao was just about to speak up when Gu Nanqiang, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke up. Does that mean that I'm going to have a nephew soon? Aw. How exciting. Exciting my ass. Whose family are you from? Why are you dragging me down? Just as Shi Yao was done glaring at Gu Nanqiang's mother, who was also Shi Yao's biological aunt, Shi Miao, spoke up, aren't you stupid? That's not a nephew, it's a nephew. He's calling you uncle. I see. Gu Nanqiang scratched his head as he turned to Lin Jie and chuckled. Congratulations, brother-in-law. Shi Yao stared blankly at Gu Nanqiang. This wasn't just holding them back, this was a blatant betrayal. Before Shi Yao could make up her mind, her mother had already spoken up. Does that mean that I'm going to be a grandmother soon? Shi Yao's father, then, I'm your grandfather. At this moment, Shi Yao was completely dumbfounded. Were they her biological parents? Shouldn't her daughter be angry and educated when she was pregnant? Why, does he look so happy? Grandpa Lin, so, based on your words, it means that you don't have any objections to their marriage? Shi Yao's mother, no, it's just like what you said. They're bound to get married sooner or later. Besides, it's not our place to interfere in their relationship. Now that they've crossed the line, it's only a matter of time before they get married. Chapter 6:19. Shi Yao, just what kind of world was this? She had seen people being forced to buy and sell, and she had heard of people being raped, but she was the one who was forced to get pregnant. Shi Yao took a deep breath to stabilize her crumbling heart before replying, but before she could say a single word, Grandpa Lin had already spoken up. Since the in-laws have no objections, shall we settle the matter of Yao Yao and Jie's marriage? Shall we discuss the details of the wedding over dinner and wine? Xia Yang, father-in-law is right. Jie is the only successor of the Lin clan, and this marriage is a huge matter for the Lin clan. We have to think about it carefully. Jiang Wangue, since we're going to get married, we can't skip a single step. Lin Gunan, sister-in-law is right. We have to go to the Lin clan to propose, present the betrothal gifts, get engaged, take the wedding photos, and hold the wedding ceremony. We can't skip a single step. Shi Yao's aunt, big sis Nan is right. We can't skip a single step, but Yao Yao's already pregnant. She won't look good in a wedding dress, Shi Yao's mother, that's why we have to hurry. If we don't hurry, I'll have to prepare Yao Yao's dowry as soon as possible. Lin Gubei, although I don't advocate superstition, there are still some customs that need to be followed for good luck. Therefore, on the auspicious day, we need to find a master to calculate when to get engaged, when to get married, and even when to start the wedding. We need to calculate all of these. Shi Yao's father, I have a friend's father, and he's a highly respected master. I'll contact him as soon as we get home. Grandpa Lin, it's too slow. We have to hurry. Shi Yao's father, yes. Uncle Lin is right. I'll contact him after dinner. Lin Jai, it just so happens that I'm not that busy these days. I'll take care of the wedding then. By the way, Yao Yao, do you want a Western-style wedding or a Chinese-style wedding? Finally, someone is willing to ask me. Shi Yao, who hadn't been able to say a single word all this while, started praising Lin Jai from top to bottom 800 times in her heart. Then, she moved her lips. However, someone beat her to it and said, I like Chinese-style weddings. We can hold the wedding in Hengdian Studios. We can rent out the Qin Royal Palace. It'll be grand. The one who spoke was Lin Gunan. The one who spoke up next was Shi Yao's mother, but I think a Western-style wedding isn't too bad either. A white wedding gown is the dream of every girl in the world. Old Mr. Lin looked as if this was not a problem at all. That's easy. We can combine the East and the West. Jiang Wangue replied, in that case, we'll have to make 2 sets of gowns for our wedding, a phoenix coronet and a wedding gown. I'll leave the wedding gown to Jai. She's very familiar with France, so we'll have to find the best designer to design it. As for the phoenix coronet and wedding gown, I'll have to trouble Xia Yang. You're from Zhejiang, so you're the best at making classical clothes, Xia Yang said. Sister-in-law, don't worry. It won't be a problem. Lin Gubei, diamond rings, matching rings, formal attire for the toast, we need to prepare these as well. Gu Nan, keep an eye on them. As for the banquet, let's leave it to the in-laws, Shi Yao's mother, that won't be a problem. Other than that, there are also red packets and wedding candies. Auntie Yao Yao and I will look through them carefully. Chapter 6:20. Shi Yao's favorite dishes were all on the table, but she wasn't in the mood to eat at all. Instead, she turned to the table full of people and said, can you all listen to me for a moment? No one paid any attention to her. Everyone was still immersed in the details of the wedding, discussing it passionately and passionately. Shuyao coughed heavily and raised her voice a little, about that. Still, no one paid any attention to her. Everyone had already moved from the details of the wedding to the naming of the child in her womb. Lin Gunnan, 10 months of pregnancy sounds like a long time, but it's actually a very short period of time. We have to prepare clothes for the baby first. Shiyao's mother, you're right. Once the baby is born, there'll be a lot of things to do, confinement nannies, nursing, and most importantly, the baby's name. Grandpa Lin, we'll have to do it properly. Auntie Sun, remember to get me a Xinhua dictionary later on. I'll spend the entire night studying it. Shuyao. I'm so angry, but I still have to maintain a smile before so many elders. Shuyao took a deep breath, and then another deep breath before saying, there won't be a baby. Grandpa Lin, many young people think that it's impossible for them to have a baby. But 2 months later, when their period is delayed, a human life is born. Lin Gunnan, that's right. Yao Yao, we mustn't learn from other girls. We have to give birth to the baby once we're pregnant. Shiyao's aunt, Yao Yao, I'm telling you, abortion isn't good for your body. You shouldn't go through with it. Besides, this is a human life we're talking about. If you kill a life, you'll incur the wrath of the heavens and lose your blessings, Shuyao. Ah! She finally understood what it meant by, a bull's mouth doesn't match the ponytail. Everyone at the table was living in their own delusions. Shuyao tried her best to suppress the rage in her body as she looked at everyone at the table one by one. Eventually, she turned her gaze to Lin Jiej and said, hurry up and say something, Lin Jiej. To be honest, Lin Jiej really didn't expect that his grandfather would call him and Shuyao over for dinner to put on such a show. To be honest, he was quite happy to enjoy such a scene. To have a table full of people forcing him to get married. This is truly a once-in-a-century stroke of luck. But as much as he wanted to enjoy himself, he couldn't afford to offend Soft Bun. Not to mention, Soft Bun was currently looking at him pitifully, making it hard for him to reject her request. Just what should he do in order to avoid ruining the entire table of godly assists and provoking Soft Bun at the same time? Lin Jiej. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't saying a word, Shuyao spoke up once more with an aggrieved voice. Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej spoke up, this. Yao Yao and I are still young, not to mention that Yao Yao is still in school. Isn't it a little inappropriate for the both of you to talk about such things? A second after Lin Jiej said those words, Grandpa Lin bellowed furiously, what do you mean by inappropriate? What's wrong with it? No matter how I look at it, why do I feel that it's so suitable? Do you think it's appropriate? Almost without hesitation, everyone at the table stood in line and said, it's suitable no matter how you look at it. Even Auntie Sun was nodding her head in agreement. Very suitable. Young Master and Miss Shi are truly a match made in heaven. Chapter 621. I also think that it's suitable, but I can't afford to offend Soft Bun. However, if I were to reject him once more and act hesitant, my grandfather would surely think that I'm unwilling to marry Soft Bun. By then, my grandfather would surely fly into a rage at me, and Soft Bun wouldn't be able to blame me. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej spoke up once more, it's not a matter of whether it's suitable or not. He intentionally paused for a moment before continuing. It's just that I think that Yao Yao might be a little unsociable in the academy after getting married all of a sudden. Before Lin Jiej could finish his sentence, Grandpa Lin had already tossed the chopsticks in his hand onto the table. Glaring at Lin Jiej, he bellowed furiously, brat, don't think that I'm a fool just because I'm old. Let me tell you, I know exactly what you're up to. Do you think that I'll be fooled just because your words sound as good as a song? You keep saying that you won't leave Yao Yao's side, but on the surface, you're just using her as a shield, aren't you? Grandfather, what are you talking about? How could I possibly use Yao Yao as a shield? Lin Jiej knew his grandfather's personality very well, and he knew that his rejection of their proposal to force him into a marriage had already angered his grandfather. If he were to reject them once more, even if he were to speak the truth, it would only be a cover-up in his grandfather's eyes. So, with a sincere look on his face, he continued. Besides, it's impossible for Yao Yao to get pregnant. What do you mean by that? Grandpa Lin was just about to bring his teacup to his lips when he heard Lin Jiej's words. He immediately flew into a rage and smashed the teacup onto the floor. What do you mean by, impossible for Yao Yao to get pregnant? You're not going to take responsibility just because it's impossible for her to get pregnant. Lin Gunan, that's right. Jiej, you're going too far. Yao Yao is a pure lady, and she shared a bed with you for an entire month. How can you go back on your word just because you're wearing pants? Shared a bed. Going back on your word just because you're wearing pants. Shi Yao felt as if her head was about to explode. They didn't even take off their pants, so how can you go back on your word just because you're wearing pants? She had lived under the same roof as Lin Jiej for a month, not on the same bed. Old Mr. Lin seemed to agree with Lin Gunan. Gunan is right. This rebellious brat is simply trying to anger me to death. Lin Gubei hurriedly said, Dad, calm down, don't ruin your health because of this bastard. As Lin Gubei spoke, he called out to Jiang Wangui, wife. Jiang Wangui calmly raised her head and shot a cold glance at Lin Jiej. Even though her words were concise, there was an invisible pressure emanating from her. Jiej, how did your mother educate you? Mommy remembers mommy saying that if you dare to do something, you must dare to take responsibility. Xia Yang also spoke up as well, but his words were directed towards Shi Yao's family. In-laws, please calm down. Jiej is still young, and he's still in his rebellious phase. He'll take responsibility. We'll stand up for Yao Yao. Chapter 622. Fearing that Lin Jiej's fist would land on Lin Jiej, Shi Yao hurriedly spoke up, that's not it. You've misunderstood Lin Jiej. He's not the kind of person you think he is. He doesn't want to take responsibility for his actions, Pui. What in the world is she talking about? What do you mean refusing to take responsibility for my actions? He clearly didn't do anything at all. Are you sure you're just trying to defend yourself? Shi Yao cursed herself in her heart before she hurriedly spoke up. No, that's not it. Nothing happened between us at all. Lin Jiej knew that there were some words that no one would get angry or doubt if Shi Yao were to say it out loud, but there were some words that no one would think the same if he were to say it out loud. So, when Shi Yao was speaking up to this point, he immediately added on, that's right. It's just like what Yao Yao said. Nothing happened between us at all. Back then, I was injured, and Yao Yao was worried about leaving me alone, so she stayed at my place for a month to take care of me. It's just that simple. That was all Lin Jiej wanted to say, but in the instant he said those words, a thought suddenly flashed across his mind. He turned to Shi Yao and added, right? Yao Yao. He had intentionally lowered his voice to a whisper, making it seem as if he was making up a bunch of nonsense to threaten Shi Yao into colluding with him to make a confession. Knowing the truth, Shi Yao naturally didn't notice anything amiss with Lin Jiej's words. So, after hearing Lin Jiej's question, she immediately nodded her head vehemently and said, that's right, that's right. Back then, Lin Jiej was injured, so I went to take care of him. It's just that simple. As for the rest, you're really thinking too much into it. Shi Yao was only trying to emphasize that everyone was thinking too much into it, but what she didn't know was that in the eyes of the crowd, it looked as if she was being threatened by Lin Jiej. Before Shi Yao could finish her words, Lin Jiej could already see that his grandfather was already on the verge of exploding. In order to infuriate his grandfather further, he added, "See, I'm not the only one who said that Yao Yao wouldn't get pregnant. Even Yao Yao said that you're thinking too much into it. Do you think that I'm blind and didn't see anything? Don't think I don't know what you just said, right?" Yao Yao is threatening Yao Yao. Elder Lin's chest was heaving up and down in anger. He pointed at Lin Jiej a few times, seemingly wanting to berate him, but he couldn't think of any words at all. Instead, his face turned red from anger. Seeing this sight, Shi Yao hurriedly said, "Grandpa Lin, please calm down. Don't let your anger affect your health. Yao Yao, I know that you feel wronged. Don't worry, Grandpa will definitely avenge you today. Just you wait." As he spoke, Grandpa Lin looked left and right before pointing at his walking stick. "Auntie Sun, give me the walking stick. I'll beat him to death today. Now you're capable, huh? Actually dare to threaten Yao Yao." Ha! Elder Lin was so angry that he didn't know what else to say. In the end, he glared at Lin Gubei and said, "Look at the good son you've raised. How can he compare to my son?" As he spoke, Grandpa Lin raised his walking stick and swung it at Lin Jiej. Dad, calm down, calm down." Chapter 623. Uncle Lin, this matter might be a little too sudden. I don't think that's what those two kids mean, that's right. Old master, it's been so many years since they were engaged to each other, so it's only a matter of time before they get married. There's no need to rush. This isn't a problem of whether I'm in a rush or not. This is a problem with Lin Jiej's character. You all saw how frightened Yao Yao was when he threatened her earlier. She didn't even dare to breathe, only going along with his words. What is there to say about yes? What's there to yes about? I'm going to teach him a lesson today, but he's telling me that he's injured. Where is he injured? I'm going to beat him up for real today. Dad. I'll punish him to face the wall and reflect on his wrongdoings. No, I'll make him kneel on the cobblestones in the courtyard. I'll make him kneel for an entire day and night. No one is to give him anything to eat. It's only right for you to teach your son a lesson, and it's only right for me to teach my grandson a lesson. If I don't beat him up today, I won't be his grandfather. Besides, even if there's really nothing going on between him and Yao Yao, a good lady like Yao Yao has been living in the same house with him for a month now. Her reputation and whatnot should be tarnished by now. No matter what, he has to take responsibility for it, right? For a moment, the room that was originally filled with joy and happiness instantly became a foul atmosphere. The voices of persuasion and scolding entered Shi Yao's ears, leaving her dizzy. In the end, when she saw Grandpa Lin really swinging his cane at Lin Jiej, she immediately stood in front of Lin Jiej and shouted, "Grandpa Lin, don't hit him." Grandpa Lin quickly stopped his attack and glared at Lin Jiej furiously, "Come at me if you dare. What kind of man are you to hide behind a little girl?" As Grandpa Lin spoke, he changed his direction to beat Lin Jiej up. Shi Yao quickly followed Grandpa Lin's lead and said, "Grandpa Lin, it's not that Lin Jiej doesn't want to marry me, it's that I don't want to marry him." Shi Yao's words only served to infuriate Grandpa Lin further. "Very well, Lin Jiej. You sure have grown up now. Just what did you use to threaten Yao Yao to make her take all the blame? My gosh, why am I so unclear? She was the one who didn't want to marry Lin Jiej. That's not it, Grandpa Lin. You really can't blame Lin Jiej for this matter. I wasn't threatened by him at all, and he treats me very well. Besides, it's also under my request that he told you all not to get married yet. You have really misunderstood him. The more Xiao defended Lin Jiej, the more certain Grandpa Lin was that she was being threatened by Lin Jiej. This time, Grandpa Lin was so furious that he couldn't even speak anymore. He raised his walking stick and smashed it down on Lin Jiej's right arm. That won't do. Lin Jiej's right arm had just recovered, and the doctor had reminded him to take good care of it in the near future. If the crutch were to strike it, wouldn't Lin Jiej be injured once more? What if he was crippled after getting injured so frequently? But no matter how she explained, Grandpa Lin refused to listen. In a moment of desperation, Xiao could only resort to stalling for time and said, "Grandpa Lin, you two can continue discussing the wedding." Seeing that her words were unable to appease Grandpa Lin at all, Xiao quickly turned to Lin Jiej and said, "Hurry up and apologize to Grandpa Lin. Tell him that you have no objections and let them continue discussing the wedding." Chapter 624. Lin Jiej shot a glance at Grandpa Lin, and as if in a fit of pique, he moved his lips, but no words came out. Grandpa Lin grew even more furious. Xiao grew even more anxious. "Lin Jiej, hurry up and say it, Lin Jiej." Under Xiao's urging, Lin Jiej, who had been itching to say, "I have no objections, and I'll go along with your arrangements," from the very start, reluctantly raised his head and said indignantly to Grandpa Lin, "I never said that I don't want to get married. What I've been trying to say all along is that you should respect Yao's choice and respect the truth of the matter." But to Grandpa Lin's ears, his words sounded like he was being unreasonable. Grandpa Lin's face reddened in anger. "That scoundrel." Dad, calm down, Jiej, it's not that I want to lecture you, but you're really too immature. ATM machine, are you tired of living? Grandpa Lin, don't get angry. Let me talk to him." As Xiao consoled Grandpa Lin along with the others, she discreetly tugged on Lin Jiej's clothes and whispered into his ear, "Hurry up and give in to Grandpa Lin. We can discuss the rest later on. There's no way we can talk about it today. No matter what you say, they won't believe you. If we continue to clash head-on like this and anger Grandpa Lin, it'll be a huge loss for us." Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't going to say anything, Xiao tugged on his sleeves and urged him once more. "Lin Jiej, hurry up." Perhaps it was out of anxiety, but a thin layer of sweat had already formed on the tip of Xiao's nose. Listening to her soft voice, Lin Jiej stared at her for a moment, and as if he really couldn't do anything to her, he could only reply with a helpless, "All right." After which, he finally relented and raised his eyelids to look at Grandpa Lin. "All right, I was in the wrong earlier. I'll listen to Yao and do whatever she says." It was just a moment ago that Grandpa Lin was still trembling in rage, but upon hearing Lin Jiej's words, a smile immediately blossomed on his face. As if nothing had happened at all, he turned to the crowd and said, "Why is everyone still standing? Come, sit down." Under Auntie Sun's support, Grandpa Lin was the first to take a seat, and the others quickly followed suit. "The food should be eaten while it's hot," Old Master Lin said as he picked up his chopsticks. After taking a bite, he asked, "Where were we just now?" Auntie Sun replied, "Old Mister, we were talking about naming the child." Old Mr. Lin nodded. Yes. Continue. Naming a child depends on the date of birth, right? It's better to be named after the child is born, right? But it's not bad to think of some words in advance. It might come in handy when the time comes. There are still a lot of troublesome things when you have a child. Diapers, milk, baby bottles, cribs. No matter how doubtful Xiao was, she didn't dare to voice her opinion anymore. She could only grumble in her heart. She didn't have a child at all, and there's nothing to it at all. You guys are way too imaginative. As she picked up her chopsticks, she vented her frustrations on her food to her heart's content. Chapter 625. Even though this forced marriage had come without any warning, even though the thought of marrying him still hadn't crossed her mind yet, but as long as she didn't reject this marriage, it meant that there was still hope for him. To be honest, he did like her, more than he had imagined, but he had never thought of marrying her so soon. But when his grandfather used the fact that he had been living with her for a month as an excuse to force him into marrying her, he realized that he didn't have the slightest intention of objecting to it. In fact, he even thought that it would be great if he could really get married just like that. Lin Jiej was truly overjoyed, but he didn't dare to show any flaws. So, he tried his best to control the emotions on his face, trying his best to appear as calm as possible. Calmly, he picked up his chopsticks and picked up one of Shi Yao's favorite dishes before placing it into her bowl. The meal lasted for 4 whole hours, and by the time it was over, it was already 3:30 p.m. It had been a long time since Shi Yao had returned home. As the next day was the long National Day holiday, she left together with her parents, aunt, and Gu Nanxiang. Initially, they had booked a chauffeur from the Lin family to send Shi Yao and her family home, but for some reason, Grandpa Lin requested for a chauffeur at the last minute and had Lin Jiej drive Shi Yao and her family home instead. After Lin Jiej drove Shi Yao and her family out of the Beijing World Hotel, Grandpa Lin didn't linger for long and immediately left. Auntie Sun left together with Grandpa Lin. While they were in the car, Auntie Sun recalled that the marriage between Lin Jiej and Shi Yao had been decided, so she turned to Grandpa Lin and said in delight, "Old mister, congratulations. Miss Shi is going to become your real granddaughter-in-law." Hearing those words, not only did Grandpa Lin not beam with joy, his complexion turned cold instead. "Ha, that brat is really useless." Auntie Sun looked at Grandpa Lin in confusion and asked, "Old mister, what do you mean by that? Shouldn't you be happy?" "Ha, Auntie Sun, you sure are a fool over the years. I was happy during the meal, but it was all an act." As old Mr. Lin spoke, he snorted coldly. "You people are still too young. Fortunately, I reacted quickly. Otherwise, Yao Yao would have left the Lin clan completely." Auntie Sun was even more confused. "No. Old master, I'm really confused right now. Miss Shi was the one who persuaded young master to compromise with you, so why would you say that Miss Shi is leaving the Lin clan?" Grandpa Lin shot Auntie Sun a look that said, "It's really tiring to talk to you." After a while, he said, "Can't you tell? Now it's not that that brat doesn't want to marry Yao Yao, it's Yao Yao who doesn't want to marry that brat. You say, let him do it happily, right? Now you're getting your retribution, right? Your fiancé is about to fly away, right?" Speaking up to this point, Grandpa Lin sighed heavily. "I was the one who reacted quickly. If I hadn't lost my temper at the last moment and wanted to pummel that lad, Yao Yao would have probably told everyone at the table that she doesn't want to marry Lin Jiej anymore." Grandpa Lin sighed deeply once more. "Say, why is that bastard Lin Jiej so different from me? Over the past month, nothing has happened between him and Yao Yao. Sigh. What's done can't be undone." Grandpa Lin sighed for the 3rd time, but before he could finish sighing, a thought suddenly struck him, and he turned to Auntie Sun and said, "Say, if I were to play some tricks and make them do that, what's done can't be undone, right?" Chapter 626. For a moment, Auntie Sun didn't quite catch the hint behind Grandpa Lin's words. "What do you mean?" "It's..." Grandpa Lin only said 2 words before falling silent. "Forget it, just pretend that I didn't ask you. as he said those words, he turned to look out of the window with a look of disdain for Auntie Sun's stupidity. Auntie Sun. To think that the young master doesn't take after Grandpa Lin. In her opinion, the young master takes after Grandpa Lin the most. The only use that brat Lin Jiej is to him is to marry Yao Yao. If he can't even do that, then, Grandpa Lin looked at the scenery outside the window, and with such thoughts in mind, he couldn't help but sigh deeply. I can't think about it. The more I think about it, the more I despise this grandson of mine. But what can I do? I can't possibly stuff him back into his mother's womb. Since I can't stuff him back, I can't keep despising him either. It looks like as a grandfather, I'll have to step in and lend him a hand. With such thoughts in mind, Grandpa Lin frowned and fell into deep thought. Roughly 5 minutes later, he walked up to Auntie Sun and whispered some instructions to her. After hearing his words, Auntie Sun looked at Grandpa Lin uncertainly and asked, "Is this all right?" "Yes, of course. Just do as I say. First, go and see when Yao Yao is on her period, and then calculate when she is ovulating. As long as I have a child by then, I will have no regrets in this life." As old Master Lin spoke, it was as if the matter had already become a reality. His originally cold face instantly turned into a cheerful one. By the time they returned to Shi Yao's house, it was already 6 in the evening. Shi Yao's mother warmly invited Lin Jiej to stay for dinner, and Lin Jiej agreed to it with a look of great hospitality. While Shi Yao's father helped Shi Yao's mother cook, Shi Yao was instructed by her mother to accompany Lin Jiej the entire time. By the time they were done eating, it was already 9 in the evening. While it wasn't too late, Lin Jiej still needed an hour's journey back to the city, so he tactfully requested to leave before 9:30. Shi Yao sent Lin Jiej down the stairs. Before Lin Jiej boarded the car, Shi Yao didn't forget to bring up the matter of them trying to force her into a marriage. About that. What should we do about the marriage? Ever since Lin Jiej had apologized to Shi Yao that night, he could sense that Shi Yao's view of him had changed a lot. There were some things that he couldn't wait to do, but he only dared to do it secretly. He was afraid that if he were to push her too far, he might end up making things worse. So, after hearing Shi Yao's words, he pondered for a moment before replying, "I haven't thought of a good solution yet, but you don't have to worry too much. I'll think of one eventually." Shi Yao thought that Lin Jiej's words made sense, so she nodded her head in agreement. A moment later, a thought suddenly came to her mind, and she said, "Right, didn't we agree to go to Chengdu together? You booked the tickets, didn't you? Can you send me the booking information?" Lin Jiej replied with an He didn't think that there was anything wrong with Shi Yao's question, so he tapped on his phone and sent a message over, "The flight is at 3 tomorrow afternoon. I'll wake up at noon tomorrow to pick you up." Chapter 627. See you tomorrow. Lin Jiej didn't linger any longer. After bidding Shi Yao farewell, he got into his car and left. It was only after Lin Jiej's car was out of sight that Shi Yao turned around and headed upstairs. After her shower, Shi Yao was just about to head straight to bed when she saw her phone by the bedside. A thought suddenly came to her mind, and she picked up her phone to look at the message Lin Jiej had sent her before he left. After seeing the flight number, she immediately went online to search for the price. After which, she walked over to her study table, took out a small notebook from her bag, and made a note on it. The next day, before midnight, Lin Jiej arrived at Shi Yao's apartment. As Shi Yao lived in the suburbs, it wasn't too far from the airport. Thus, it took him less than half an hour to reach the airport. After getting her boarding pass, passing through the security check, and arriving at the first-class lounge, it was only 12:30. Shi Yao and Lin Jiej had their lunch in the first-class lounge. Halfway through their lunch, Lin Jie received a call. From the content of the call, Shi Yao could vaguely tell that it was a business partner of his. After lunch, Shi Yao wanted to head to the washroom, but seeing that Lin Jie was still on the phone, she didn't disturb him. Walking out of the washroom cubicle, Shi Yao walked over to the sink. Just as she turned on the tap, the door of another cubicle behind her was pushed open, and a lady dressed in black walked out. Shi Yao took a quick glance at the lady, and she found her a little familiar. However, she didn't pay much attention to it. She quickly washed her hands and prepared to leave. However, in the instant that she turned around, the lady dressed in black happened to pass by her. As if telepathic, the two of them stopped in their tracks and turned to look at one another. In the instant that their eyes met, a hint of surprise flashed across Shi Yao's eyes. But in just a few short seconds, Shi Yao reined in her emotions, and as if she hadn't seen the other party, she prepared to leave. However, before she could take a step forward, Liang Mumu suddenly reached out to stop her. Shi Yao, it's been a while. Shi Yao glanced at Liang Mumu's hand, which was blocking her way, but she didn't say a word. Liang Mumu then asked, Shi Yao, are you free right now? Without any hesitation, Shi Yao instinctively tossed Liang Mumu the words, I'm busy. As if anticipating her reply, Liang Mumu interjected before she could say anything, I believe that you have a lot of things to say to me, right? I also have a lot to talk to you about. My flight is at 3:30. What about you? What time is it? But it's fine if you don't want to tell me. If you're not in a hurry to fly, let's have a chat. The words that Shi Yao wanted to say froze at the tip of her lips. She pondered for a few seconds before nodding lightly to Liang Mumu, sure. Give me a moment then. After saying those words, Liang Mumu quickly turned on the tap and washed her hands. After which, she whipped out a napkin from her bag and wiped her hands clean before tossing the napkin into the dustbin. After which, she turned to Shi Yao and said, let's go. We'll find a place to talk. Without saying a word, Shi Yao followed Liang Mumu out of the washroom. There were many areas in the VIP lounge, but the massage chair area was completely empty. Liang Mumu casually pointed to it and asked, is that all right? Shi Yao had no objections to that. Chapter 628. Shi Yao's expression remained calm. Her emotions didn't fluctuate in the slightest due to Liang Mumu's sudden apology. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Liang Mumu apologized a few more times before continuing. I know that you must be blaming me right now, and I'm also blaming myself. It was a moment of muddle-headedness that led to me making so many mistakes. After I was sent back to my hometown by my uncle, I did blame you, but I realized that behind my blaming you, I was still thinking about the times we shared in the past. Yao. Liang Mumu's voice trailed off as she hesitated for a moment before asking weakly. Can I still call you Yao Yao? Shi Yao pursed her lips, not replying to Liang Mumu's question. Liang Mumu's eyelids drooped down, and a moment later, she spoke up in disappointment, Are you unwilling to forgive me even if I apologize? I know that it's hard for you to believe me after what I've done, but Yao Yao, do you know that I was blinded by greed? I really know that I was in the wrong. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have. Before she could finish her words, tears began flowing down Liang Mumu's cheeks. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I really regret it. Yao Yao, as long as you're willing to forgive me, I'm willing to do anything for you. If you still harbor any hatred in your heart, you can hit me or scold me. I'll take it all. I just want us to return to how we were before. I know that what I'm saying isn't very trustworthy. When I was in the countryside, I fell seriously ill and nearly lost my life. It was my aunt who found out about it and brought me back. At the brink of death, I realized that what I wanted in the past wasn't what I really wanted. What I have is what I truly care about. I was thinking that I should go out for a walk and adjust my mental state before coming back to apologize to you and beg for your forgiveness. But since I met you today, I thought that Liang Mumu's words were filled with sincerity. However, Shi Yao's thoughts had already drifted far away. Both of them were apologies, but Lin Jiej's apology that night had made her feel touched, relieved. Yet, Liang Mumu's apology at this moment made her feel an indescribable disgust. In truth, she didn't want to continue listening, but just as she was about to interrupt Liang Mumu's words, she suddenly recalled something that had happened in the first semester. That day was Mother's Day. She had been drunk by Liang Mumu the night before, and when she woke up the next day, Liang Mumu had brought Jiang Wangui and Lin Jie with her. She knew that Liang Mumu was there to catch her adultery, but she had Jiang Yu prepare in advance, and Liang had failed. Liang Mumu had failed. Following which, Liang Jie had told Lin Jie. However, what she didn't know was that Lin Jie had already found out about this matter. That night, Lin Jie used the excuse that she owed him a meal to look for her to treat him to a meal. After the meal, he brought her to a KTV, and his two roommates tried their best to cheer her up. On the way back to the dormitory, he bought a bottle of water, but before he could say anything, he dropped it on the floor and tore his clothes. Actually, you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.